Okay, we'll call the IT meeting to order. Thank you everyone for being here. And first order is this to accept the minutes of November 19th, 2024, moved by Sam, second by Dan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Information technology, our first item of project reviews.
So I did bring the project report for January, so you all folks can see the current projects. There are several that have been completed coming off and more that will be coming on here soon as we go past the first of the year. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that initial report.
The ones that are in place seems like a shorter list. Like you say, there's more coming on, that seems like a shorter list. Yes.
Yeah, yep, it is for right now, some bigger ones,
Okay.
for sure.
Harry, will you do the website redesign will that be done in-house?
No, so it's actually done through Civic Plus itself with a combination of working with our staff inside. We have one of our computer programmers that'll be lead on that project. We started down that road a little bit last year and we really just wanted to wait to get through budget, wait till after the first of the year because we need many more than just IT people in the county. We're gonna need all department heads to kind of review their content, take a look at where we are, work with county admin on the new appearance, to be able to modernize it. And we really just wanted to include people outside of our department. So we thought after the first of the year would be a good time for summer to try to get started on that one.
Another noticeable change. And part of the delay was, this guy over here. There's going to be the ability now to accept some credit card payments and stuff through the new website too. So if somebody's signing up for a civil service exam, they'll be able to have that pay now button attached to the application. So there's gonna be some new features on there that really were, in my opinion, worth the wait. So
Yeah, we're very excited for that. We can start some of that today.
Right.
For anybody that wants to.
Now, anybody pay their taxes now with credit
So
card?
we've had that for 20 years, Mr. That's been available.
20?
You charge extra to use a credit card.
So we pass the site fees on to the user.
What is our town?
I must be thinking back when I was here the first time around, which was 25 years ago. You were talking about it then.
So if you remember when we did the centralized collection and all that was around that time frame.
Yeah.
The predecessor was still here when we went onto the express pay system.
Do many people use it, their credit card?
It's actually, there's actually a decent amount that comes through that system. And we do currently use it for other things. County clerk uses it. Real property uses it. So we do have some peripheral things that are already out there. That those things will probably migrate to the new platform. And we'll do just taxes on the old platform. We're working with a new vendor to see if everything can be migrated over. So the biggest problem we have with taxes on the credit card system is having to pay them in reverse order. So that date dependency isn't something that a lot of credit card companies are used to yet.
Well, to take it one step further, just so I fully understand this, if anybody going in there to do business with the county treasurer's office,
Yes, sir.
can they pay with a credit card?
Yes, sir.
So any cost or expense could be handled that way.
Yes, sir.
That's good to know. I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a site minimum, so $2 and $3 charges aren't able to be done, but
Yeah.
yes, almost everything we do can be done through the computer.
Anything else on project reports? Okay, we'll move on to annual ticketing report.
So the ticketing report, I did the full year of 2024. So that way you folks had a total for our full year. If there's any questions on
I don't know, Mtgs.
that? Yep.
Gary, would it be fair to give this to my deputy for our annual cost report of these numbers? Something I should be able to, so instead of having to bug you for them again, I could always share these with you.
You can if you'd like to, or I can just pull it for you again, because usually it's the similar report that I pulled.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Terry, is there any way you can separate, on the ticketing report, a lot of this is just maintenance or upgrades, whatever, correct?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. It's everything that we do.
Right, I know it. And is there any way you can pull up or pull out all that and just have where you're having problems? So this just shows where there's problems?
Not really. There's
Okay.
no easy way to pull out like just problem tickets because they can be anything from password resets to computer not turning on. But,
Those are
and
the
then we have
ones,
computer replacements and many
Yeah.
other things, but at this time I don't have, and it would be manual. I'd have to manually touch everyone and quantify
well,
it.
what would you say percentage wise of all this is problems that you're fixing versus upgrades and, plan stuff?
I'd say probably half and half,
Half
50
and half.
percent-ish, yeah, right around there. We have a lot of people with,
Scheduled versus unscheduled.
right, exactly. Yep,
Okay, thank
yep.
you.
Is fair amount of it simply user needs help?
It can be, sometimes, it's not so much, I'd have to look at the actual content of the tickets to give you guys more specific, so I hesitate on doing too much in terms of numbers. But most of it's not training type things, like the user needs help, but maybe my computer's not working, or a lot of them are, don't remember my password or account locked out. Some are, this program's not working today, or I can't print to this printer. Those are some common ones that we come across often on the help desk. Yeah, patches sometimes have a way of messing up computers. They're important and we have to do them, but they can cause issues the next morning from time to time.
Your own patches?
Yeah, oh, Windows patches, yeah, Microsoft.
Oh, do they get fully released to everybody? And I'm curious how much of everybody's user in our group of users, are they all Microsoft clients and
Yeah.
under us?
They are. Yep, all Microsoft and all under us, and we push patches every week, Tuesday nights.
And that's for their cloud-based Microsoft.
That's for all Microsoft products and third-party products.
If they don't update their own local Microsoft updates, for updates and don't install their updates on their PC.
No, people don't have the rights to be able to install anything on the local computers. So we push them overnight to try to, so we don't disrupt work as much as possible. If we have a problem with people not leaving their computers on, then they do get pushed down the next day. So,
Someone has a laptop and they're taking in or even a PC workstation and they fall prey to a phishing email or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that result in a ticket to go out and, take care of that for,
yeah, we try everything to be ticketed work.
okay.
Yeah, that's really how we manage the department, to be able to track people's
Okay.
time.
So if
Is
it
through
goes out, a
tickets.
lot of times if that happens, then it spreads to several others. Is it one ticket or is it several tickets?
If that did happen, it would be a single incident. So I would say a single
Alright.
ticket that everybody would put their time
Okay.
on.
Thank you.
But if,
Yes, multiple entries.
but if that person forwards it to other people, then it could result in multiple tickets.
It is possible, yeah. You get the same call about multiple items that affect different people.
We do have programs that if you see or suspect phishing, you hit it, it says alerts IT. You get an attaboy if you're right.
Yep. And you get to help other county people if you're wrong. Because then we can block it and stop other people from getting it. Or just, yeah, as if you're right.
Okay, annual cybersecurity report.
So-
Safe, sorry though.
Yeah, so the cybersecurity report that's presented is for the year. I did ask Ryan Mylott to come down, if you'd like for him to answer some questions. I thought that could be a good thing, but I also wanted you all to be able to really put a name to a face. He's really done a lot over this past year. And so this is his report he put together. Ryan's right there. So you can all know who he is. He's really helped significantly to continue to improve our cybersecurity posture and really to get our Washington County out there as a name in the cybersecurity world of the state. and country for that matter, really trying to, continue to grow our posture. So this is his report. I didn't know if anybody had any questions on it, or if you'd like Ryan to say a few words, but I thought that I'd have him come down. Hopefully that was.
I'd like Ryan to say a few words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think most everybody knows me, Ryan Mylott. I've been at the county almost 6 years now. And in IT for 14, and I really enjoy working here with you all and for you all. I just try to give every month, what I believe are some of the most important statistics on our monthly report. And I did the same with this annual report. At the top, I have our incident investigation history from our SIM. That's our defense and incident monitoring company. And they monitor all of our logs 24/7, 365. And they call out and, after hours or during the day if they see anything critical. So you'll see on the left-hand side of that at the top, the investigation history is how many things that they see we're looking at. And that could roll into an incident if it's serious enough. And that's when I get ticketed and I begin my investigation here internally. So the highest month last year was October we had 81 potential investigations. So then the email report, the inbound email, really that's important because one of the most common vectors to infiltrate a network is through a phishing email. Those are very high numbers. So looking at the edge protection, the spam, the good emails that we've received, you can see we're averaging somewhere around 110,000 emails a month that our email server goes through for security. And then, like you said, Dave, I'll get an email and a ticket automatically generated for every one of those phishing alerts that you submit to me. I review every one personally and I reply to every one personally. It's that important to me. We're doing great. If you look down below in the annual phishing stats in the lower left corner, you can see as our population increases, those numbers across the top, that's the number of phishing emails that go out, and the number at the bottom shows a steady decrease over the year for the people that are making mistakes and clicking those links. So even as our population grows, we're still trending down, and I'm proud of you people for that. So keep reporting. Like Terry said, if you give me one that's real and I review it, I'm able to go block that. If it's bad enough and I'm hearing from other counties, I share it through the organizations that I'm a member of, and I share it with all of New York State. So it's very important. It's good to do that. Through that phishing simulation program, I also use that for our annual training. Last year, we had 92% completion on our training. That's really big, especially for the first year that I'm managing it. And we have been hit or miss on previous years in getting completion. So 92 is real big. There's only 30 people at the county that didn't finish that in 2020.
We're still working with department heads.
I'm still trying to get that done, and you'll see 2025 content soon if you have it. But 92% completion is good. And then if you look right in the bottom center, Washington County has a lower fish-prone average than everybody in our industry. Everybody in government industry who uses KnowBe4, we're at a 2.8% click versus 4.3. We're beating the average. Everything here is just screaming how well we're doing.
Does that mean that's the number of people that are tricked to click on that? Is that what you're?
Yeah, our average for the year was 2.8%.
Yep.
And that's lower than all the other governments that use KnowBe4. There's a lot of them. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention, down the right-hand side, all those cybersecurity highlights. This is a small subset of the things that I've done. Of course, the team escalates to me. I'm always here to help anybody. Anybody should feel free to call me at any point. But work through our service desk, and then they bring it to me if they need help. But some of the things that we've done together that I led the way on are enrolling in New York State Shared Services. New York State is finally providing the counties with money and real services and things that we are going to take advantage of. We've started with some of our products this year. We're actually rolling that out in the final stage, mid stages of that right now. And we're going to continue that in 2025. I did present to the Hartford Senior Student Seminar Group last February at the request of the instructor over there. And it turned out great. I gave them 20 minutes and they did ask me back. I hope to do more outreach like that. Also for Pam and the planning department, I put together a basic cyber awareness for local government. And I intend to use that program for the towns and villages. I want any of you to contact me. I want to speak to anybody that's going to listen to me and help you learn what's important for cybersecurity. What are the base things that you need at your town or village to make sure that you're protected? The more you know, the better off you're going to be when an incident happens, because it's likely it's going to happen.
We really are trying to push hard on making people understand that it's not just about the county and about your work, it's about your personal life too. And if we can be safer at work and in our personal lives, then that just helps everybody around us. Really want to get the word out and educate people that may not have other resources to be educated. So anybody that'll listen.
I also attended 3, yeah.
I just wanted to mention that some of the new supervisors may not be aware that Karen Pratt, who preceded Gary, was on cybersecurity, and she took us a long ways in cybersecurity. She got recognized by the state. She got awards from the state, and really we're cutting edge on it. Ryan's taken it in the next direction because he's more technically savvy than she was. Not to take down her skills, but he's just more technical savvy, and that's important in this ratio.
What Karen did for us is measurable in the sum of $250,000 over 5 years. She secured grants for us that we used to build the cybersecurity program. And without that money that she secured, we wouldn't have all the things that we have and all the toys that I have to play with and fine tune. So I thank her for that. And I did fall into a good place when almost 2 years ago when I came into this role. And so, yes, I have been fine tuning these things. I automated our phishing system. That's one of the things that I have in that list. I completed an enterprise cybersecurity leadership course through the Professional Development Academy, and I got that certificate. It was focusing on leadership and cybersecurity and getting me to a point where I felt like I even belonged talking to you right now. I got my first technical certificate called Certified in Cybersecurity in June of last year from the ISC Squared, their consortium of standards for cybersecurity. I worked with our team to implement a new data security platform that's much easier to use. It's one of those things that Karen bought with the 50K one year, and it sat stagnant for some time. It was doing some things, it was helping, but I reconfigured it, and now it's tremendous what the information that we could get out of that. And I found that there's another product that we could use that does all of those things and more, and I'm working on configuring that now. We've just started deploying that from September till now. I'm in that project right now. Again, the automation of our training and phishing platform is one of the things. Yeah, please.
Jay,
Well, I don't know what
Jay's
questions.
first.
Huh?
Jay was.
Yeah, anybody.
I
can
know we're going down the
interject.
list that I see the 15 minutes that you get on new orientation. I think that would be huge. I think that's a great idea.
It's
That's
critical. I've
probably
been
where
doing it.
most of the mistakes are made in our system are the new people.
I've been doing that for the last 5 months. And I went to Danielle in personnel and I asked her for that time, and she willingly gave it to me. And so I know, IT was just glanced over in a couple minutes in orientation, and to me, that's not enough. I have a slide on our Know Before platform. I have slides on how to get help from IT. I have slides on the 4 technology-related policies and procedures at the county. One of the other projects in the list is working on updated policies and procedures that we're gonna try and get in front of you all in the administration and Dan here very soon. And, you know, these are all things that I'm working on. It's critical that we talk to our new employees about their role in cybersecurity and technology, because it truly is the responsibility of every person in this room and in this building. I have a question.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I should be asking as far as, at the town level. We have very little training, but we do have an IT company that oversees things for us. Would it be possible to come down and evaluate what we have and what we're doing?
Yes.
And whether there's room for improvement?
Yes, I want to do that. That's what I'm
Okay,
on.
so that's what, and now who do I call you directly, or do I
Either one of
go
us.
through? It doesn't make any
So I'd
difference.
say if you don't mind coordinating through me, because
I have no problem.
the other part that we'd like to do, you know, moving forward into the new year is we're just getting in place things to be able to start offering to the towns and villages IT services. And so we can do a cyber review, like Brian could come in and do a cyber review with you folks at any time. And we could do a full system review, probably starting after the first quarter. We'll be ready to start doing full system reviews and give you a full write-up on this is what we suggest you do, whether it's with us or with somebody else. And if you're comfortable working with the vendors that you folks have, that's totally fine, and we can help you to work with your existing vendors and move forward. There's gonna be a lot of different options available, but anything we can do to help, you know, in terms of the town and village, build awareness and build out your cybersecurity strategies, we would love to be a part of.
Now, does, the way it sounded like you could also forget private and go underneath the umbrella of the county. Is that what you're
I
saying?
believe that will be possible, yes, after the first quarter.
After the first quarter?
That's my goal, yeah.
Let's take advantage of the shared services that New York State's paying for. And they're now, you know, we're in phase 2, we're extending to the towns and villages. And you all can take advantage of that, and we want to help you. You know, it's gonna increase how much money we spend as a department, so sorry now. But, you know, with taking on towns and villages and expanding our footprint, we're gonna need more IT people, we're gonna need people to support you. Like right now, we all run around like chickens with no heads and do our best to keep up with your needs, so I hope we're doing well.
But we've been building a team to support this.
Yes.
He just shared out a question I was going to ask. So by providing extra services here, are you going to anticipate needing additional personnel to meet those requirements?
As the time goes on, we'll see how it shapes out. As of right now, I believe we're staffed to be able to start taking on those services. So I'll know more toward the end of the year, depending on how many people take advantage. If all 17 towns come on, yes, we will probably need to staff a little bit more. But if not, then yeah.
So would you think about this providing services to town being a cost to the towns?
Yeah, so yes, I do believe the towns would have to pay their way. We would have, we'd have work out at our cost what the hourly rate would be, you know, for what the services that we provide, and we would bill out like an IT consultant.
But certainly with the software that we'd have to pay for separately.
Yeah.
Prorating the cost of software, it's certainly gonna help.
Yeah, absolutely. And there may be some software,
Right, buy services for towns that can't afford.
right, exactly.
Department or IT services are hiring someone to do it.
And that's really the goal, to be able to do that. And I don't think not a single town is big enough to really justify hiring a full-time IT person to be on staff with any of the towns or villages. And that's really the gap that MSPs or IT consultants currently fill, and then we're hoping to supplement to be able to help.
So you had a question?
I was just gonna say, you see what IT services are charging people these days, it's horrendous.
Yeah, and coming from that industry, I understand for sure.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah, I don't see it getting any better, but the cost of good IT people isn't getting any better either. And the insurance to be able to have staff, and so that's where a lot of the issues come in. I don't see it changing, but at the cost, I also don't see it changing, so. That's the reason.
Harry, feels like you learn and you every day you learn. And thankful for you helping us, just getting through, trying to get it, self programs in the computer. So I could have like printer work. Became like, it's, but thank you. You did it. You're welcome to it. I appreciate that. But I also think about like water, you know, in our special districts and what that means and how we protect that.
Yep.
Because there's so much that I don't know, there's already every day.
Yep.
That there are, you know, the shared services for the county, really
Yeah, and certainly,
kind of all of it, and we've come a long ways.
yeah,
Yes, but I know that it's going to come. I mean, last night personally, I could have been easily taken to Venmo. Yeah. Okay, and the Venmo came through, and said, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I finally, my husband was getting, I was right in the middle of the Eagles game, thank God, and he was getting annoyed that he was bothering his Eagles game. I finally just said, bring cash on Monday. And all of a sudden the conversation. So there was no direct link.
yeah.
And then we'll go to the thing, but. $150, and then put $150 into your account, check your email, respond to your email. And I'll send you $150 back. That's all that is on.
Wow.
So the Venmo is a big deal right now. And we, you know, I did check our accounts this morning, because Venmo has always been fairly okay.
Yep.
And it was just different than.
Well, it's an impersonation of Venmo. That's the trick. They're, you know, during holidays when a lot of shipping is happening, they focus on UPS and USPS and fake text messages and emails surrounding those services. So, but yeah, back to the water, wastewater, that's called critical infrastructure as defined by CISA. And CISA, the National Organization for Cybersecurity. And that's part of what I talked about for Pam in the planning department when I presented last year for the clerks and the zoning boards. And it's open to anybody, and I want to do that for your towns and villages. Like I said, anybody that wants to learn more and listen to me talk about cybersecurity and technology, I have, you know, I have, it's already there, and I want to come talk to you. I want to educate anybody that wants to learn more, and Terry mentioned it already once before. Every concept that you learn and apply to your work, also you should be applying to your personal life, your personal accounts. Make sure you have multi-factor authentication turned on. Make sure you have strong passwords. Use a password manager if you're not using a password manager. And if you don't know what I just talked about, call me. Please.
Charlie?
A question and a comment, perhaps. Would that include getting, I don't know if all the towns are at .gov, if we're not at .gov, but I would be harder to get at .gov, but with your help, it would be much easier.
We could definitely help you down that path.
Yes.
We don't do website development per se, but,
Okay.
you know, we can certainly help with your current vendor, that whoever does website development, or help you connect with some others that do, and get the .gov is for sure. We've done that a few times.
Technically speaking, we're late for the deadline. At this point.
Because the state has said that we will have .gov email addresses and websites.
We're supposed
By
to.
January 1 of 2020.
And it actually would be a great time when you all do get your .govs to set up email with the .gov at the same time and retire any accounts that are Gmail, Yahoo, MSN, any being free.
Not to believe in the conversation, I use GoDaddy.
Yeah.
I try to figure out how to redirect .gov emails.
Oh, I can help you with
and
that.
Website, so yeah, I've been meaning to, but that's been high priority.
Yeah, no worries. DNS is something I've personally done a ton of, so.
And I'm sure this is my theory, but, I have some email names that never get spam, email addresses never get spam.
Yeah.
And I opened up a new email address when I became supervisor and did not get any spam. But what was fascinating, and I think this goes to how sophisticated the phishing world has gotten, as soon as I published on our website my email address, within a day, spammers and phishers had combed our back end, found the email address and had targeted to what might be my job.
Yep,
Yes.
And that's
Absolutely.
where they come from. They come from the back end, or either somebody breaks your other person's mailbox, and gets all your names. But they come out of nowhere
yeah.
one day.
And you all are in very difficult situation because you need everything to be public. You need to be able to publicly list out your addresses, you know, but still maintain the security. Another option for websites is a form. Instead of listing a form, just say, contact me by email, click here, it opens up a form and then they submit it. It doesn't actually ever give your email
Never, you
address
don't
out.
have to give your address out. You make a web form that automatically emails.
Ultimately, you have to give it out too, but
Right.
yeah, That's a good way.
Eventually,
That
it's
can
going to
help.
get out. Yes, the more you use it, the more it becomes a target. And that it's basically computer programs called bots that are designed to crawl the internet and scrape out this information. They use AI, they're using AI more and more to automate these processes. People that couldn't do it previously are doing it now because AI makes it easy for them. And even if, they get 1 out of 30 people, it's money in the pocket or.
and it is amazing how fast it happens.
They
Really.
got companies that, that's all they do.
Yes.
Stats of people, that's all they do. So you can see how profitable it is.
You know, even with text messages, once they get a live one on, then you get to a AI generated chain, which is supervised by an individual to make sure it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, and cybersecurity is one of those things that's not going away. It continues to change every single day, and every month there's something new, something different, even every day. So that's why we really wanted just to talk about it again, and we'll keep talking about it as much as you'll let us in that regard. And I really just wanted you all to know Ryan, because that's really his specialty. It's what he focuses on and provides a lot of value in that regard. Our previous cybersecurity officer did huge, I mean, and credit to all of you folks as well, who were able to create that position and put her in that position, because it's made a huge difference, I believe, in our county. She established a great cybersecurity program out of the gate, and Ryan's continued to grow that and tune it. And, we'll continue to do that every month that comes, and as time continues to evolve. So, but that's really kudos to everyone in this room that helped us to create this program to begin with.
Thank you, Ryan and Terry, for all you do.
Allow me to speak.
Any other?
That was all I had for today.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
That was very educational.
First order of business is the motion to accept the minutes of November 19, 2024. Moved by Sam, second by Jim and Lance. Any questions, errors, and omissions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Second order is Department of Press reports. County Clerk. Morning.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So first item is naturalization ceremony. As I told you before, we have our next one is February 7th at Building C. We will have a guest speaker, Senator Ashby, speaking. I have also invited students from Fort Edward School will be in attendance this time. The senior class is going to be attending that ceremony to see the naturalization process. They're very excited and we're excited to have them. And that's what we'll try to do each ceremony is we'll invite a school to come in and see how government works and how the naturalization process works. Melissa's gonna help with snacks. You're all, of course, invited to attend as well. Next is Easy Pass update. Oh, sure.
I've attended a couple of these. If anyone hasn't been, it's really good to go. It's really impressive, the people coming through. I mean, one of the ones I went to, most of the people came from one country, but from all over the world. It's really impressive. They talked a little bit afterwards, what they've been through and why they're here. It's really amazing. So I'd encourage you if you can, attend one.
What's the date of that?
This one is February 7th is the next one, and that is, it starts between 9:30 and 9:45 a.m., lasts approximately an hour, depending on the photo ops at the end, because there's lots of pictures taken. The next one after that is going to be May 9th. They're always on a Friday, same time. And the last one this year will be November 14th.
And where?
They're always at the county court, upstairs, in the courtroom, right? Yeah, Supreme Court.
In the morning, when early they have a
Freshmen.
refreshments, then they move upstairs.
It's nice.
And
Yeah, can you refresh us on the process of how you get to be in the ceremony to graduate? Where you have to go get some education,
It's-
right?
For us, you mean here?
No, for the
For
people,
the participants.
yes,
This is all done through Homeland Security.
okay,
So they have their green card. They go through the testing, the background checks, it's all done through them.
and where
And
is that?
then they give us a list of the participants.
Oh, now you have to graduate?
Yes.
Or is it, so
Yes.
you get a list of graduates or just participants?
I just get the participants,
So some of
that's
them
gonna
don't pass, is what you're saying?
correct. Yeah, and then we record them down in the clerk's office. We record all the naturalization.
And where do
people that are
they go to
naturalized.
get all this education and this training?
Through Homeland Security, which is done through Albany.
Oh, it's down in Albany,
Albany.
and then the
Yeah.
ceremony is held back up here from
Yes,
what?
yeah. We're one of
county
the
you
few
live in?
No, the people that we tend to have, they can be from Washington County, but we have them from Warren County, Essex County, Schenectady County, Albany County. So,
So not every county,
no,
Does it?
not every clerk does it. I
Okay.
think Columbia County clerk just, started being able to do that, that ceremony. So I think we're the only ones in this area that do it.
and does the county judge swear them in?
It's Judge African.
Supreme Court judge.
Oh, Supreme Court judge,
Yeah.
okay.
He was able to, he was assigned to those 3 dates this year, and he was also the one assigned last year. He likes to go, so I think he puts his name in and says, I'd like to continue. But I know,
Interesting,
Judge Michelini has done it before too.
thank you.
My wife went through this a year and a half ago. She did it through Albany.
Yeah.
Time constraints. We couldn't do it here. Her mother was sick in Brazil, so she had to get it done with her green card.
Mhm.
And those participants, when they become citizens, they know more about American history, know more about the Congress and all that stuff than what we do. It's unbelievable what they have to learn. And we went through it down in Albany, and in Albany, it's nothing like we put out up here. This up here is top notch compared to, you walk in a room there, you sit there for 5 minutes, get up, you come out with a little flag and leave. That's the difference between real people and politicians down there.
Okay.
So you're saying it's kind of like these meetings, they last longer than you think they're gonna last.
You're really impressed with, you're really impressed with the things that that they learn and know about. We should put every citizen through.
Some of us could.
Oh, my wife asked me and I said, I have no idea.
Okay, easy pass update.
Easy Pass, so the Easy Passes are going well. We've had them up for, we've been selling them for about a month now. And we had to reorder, so we sold 25, which is fantastic in a month. Thank you to Tim, Hardy, and Melissa for putting it out on that big beautiful sign out there, because that has definitely helped. So that's going well. We sell them in the clerk's office as opposed to the DMV. And, yeah, no, it's going well.
Do you provide all the extras with it?
You get the pamphlet, you get the little sticky things that you put on your.
Well, if you already own one, and you
Yep.
buy a new car,
Mhm.
they don't come with the sticky things. Can you come up and get?
No, you're gonna get, you don't need to get a new one. You just take your old one and you're going to register online, the Easy Pass.
Yeah, but the sticky things, what I'm talking
Oh, well,
about.
we got tons of those.
Okay,
I got like
that's
thousands.
all I'm worried about.
Some people have come in and just said, you know what, I got a new car, I need some new stickies. There you go. Have a great day.
When you're adding your new card to your Easy Pack
Yeah.
online, right there, it say
Yeah.
you need any supplies, you just hit the button and they mail you the sticky. pack.
Yeah,
Right,
They do it right there when you add your card.
but I'm up here once or twice a week. It's just as easy to wander down there.
Yeah, I just, so you
You
do
get
it
a new
you do it
car
right there.
every week or two?
No, I get a meeting every week or two up here,
Okay, thank you on easy pass. Historian archivist.
although the deer are
okay,
having.
we had the presentation with Pat Niles on the 5th or the 3rd of January. That went really well. They are gonna be doing some more outreach. We are going to be in Greenwich in March to meet with the seniors, the historian and archivist. And they are going to present the program on February 5th to at the Conklin Center. So, yeah, thank you. Getting new energy into the 250th celebration, and it's going well.
Okay, any other questions on historian archivist?
Next is mobile DMV. We're handing out calendars and the numbers for this year. So we need to make some changes with the mobile. Things have changed dramatically with DMV and how we retain our income from them. Looking at what I did was, first you have the long sheet, talks about the mobiles. So the first one is Granville. Granville is our most profitable and most well-attended of the 5 mobiles that we offer currently. The next sheet is Greenwich. And you'll notice a trend to not as busy, but still a vital service that we're offering to them down there. And then next,
Greenwich, just, it looks like it's every other month, that's that.
that's what we're looking to change it to, is coordinate Cambridge and Greenwich and go every other month. Because they are we still feel the need to be there, just not as much. And we're looking to no longer go to Salem at this point. We only retained $833 in the whole year last year. It has just been a continual not being worthwhile, unfortunately, to go there.
It just my own observation. So it's pretty crowded.
Well, we were just there last week and we only had 10 transactions there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe get people in, they may come in as a couple. But yeah, so 10 transactions doesn't mean 10 people, that means 10 transactions, because somebody can come in with 2 or 3.
Okay.
But that's what we're looking at. We also, so the calendar, what the thing was, of course, put all the holidays on there. We found that we were going to Salem usually after a holiday and that was not, that made us suffer here at the office because that was 2 people that we didn't have in office. And the days after a holiday are extremely busy down in DMV.
Well,
You can see today.
well, surprisingly enough, if I look at Granville versus Greenwich, probably could have Greenwich got a lot more car dealers, but 152 of the transactions were from dealers in Greenwich. And only 105 were from dealers in Granville. So, you know, I'm just pointing out that a lot of the traffic in Granville is coming from single individuals, whereas in Greenwich, more comes from dealers. Makes sense because there's more dealers down there.
We have, so what that is that could be at any dealer though that goes on those days. If we have dealer work that can go with a mobile to give them more to do, we send it with them. We just don't know when dealer work's gonna come in.
The thinking of the Salem again, consistency with the fund, maybe notice 1/3 of the days do not.
Yeah.
Open for business.
Yes,
So
well-
if you start reducing the third from other towns, realize that it could be that it's not operational a third of the time.
Okay, well, the first day we canceled to the weather, okay? That was an act of God. The school closed, the week closed. And the March was a staffing issue. Everybody had the stomach bug at that point. It was a staff issue in October. December, what happened was we went all the way, we did go to Salem. So that should, instead of being a 0, it should be a negative, actually. We went to Salem. Unfortunately, they changed their server at the library. Didn't let us know. We get there, we can't operate our equipment because of all the firewalls and all the security protection. We were unable to complete any transactions.
So minus that, it's still 27%,
That-
not really enough.
The 3rd, yeah, yes,
I'm just saying it's the same as what we talked about last Sunday.
I know.
They totally, and they're not there, and they're not gonna go again.
Well, people in Salem traditionally will go to Cambridge, or they'll go to Granville, or they'll go to Greenwich, just like I felt like our, taking away some of the Greenwich Cambridges, because people in Cambridge go to Greenwich, people in Greenwich go to Cambridge. I know, because we're from that area. The beauty of Salem is that you have choices. 15 minutes away or 20 minutes away drive, you're gonna get to one of our other spots. And the worst comes to worst, you travel here. I think the benefit for Granville, number 1 is their Mayor Paul, I guess, he promotes the heck out of the mobile. He wants that there. They have the population, they have the business, they have people from Vermont, and just the proximity of it makes it just more ideal, unfortunately. I've lived in the country my whole life, and the beauty about living in the country is you have to drive to get to anywhere. And 15-20 minutes, I think, is better for them than to have to come all the way to Florida. And the other part is that with the changes in DMV and with the real ID and the enhanced driver's licenses, we can't afford as a county to spend $25,000 on a camera to bring in a mobile. And that takes care of a lot of our transactions. So no licenses, no permits, no non-driver IDs can be processed on a mobile. And we have a hard and fast deadline. that May 7th date this year is the hard and fast deadline for your real and enhanced IDs. They skipped it down the road, I think, 2 or 3 times. Not anymore. I know people are going to the airport now and they're being told by agents, you need a passport or you need a real or enhanced ID.
Ron, does the enhanced driver's license still work,
Yes,
or you have to?
yes,
And that's just domestically.
yes, yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm gonna bring them now because Lisa touched on it with Vermont cars. There's a requirement that if you're going to live in New York State and that's your address because you live in New York State, then you're supposed to have a license plate from New York State at one time. You're supposed to be registered. It's always been fascinating to me that day in and day out, you can sit down like I did in the Veterans Office. If you look out the window, you see cars in there. Vermont plates are getting services out of social services or out of state residents, obviously, or they're not. I don't know, how do we get to a point where we can enforce that? I don't know where the issue lies, but to me, it's very clear if a person comes in and they have a Vermont registration on their vehicle, they're probably not living in New York, they're probably not living in Vermont, and they're here for services, they're here. We pay half of that, we get some of the benefit back from the state, but the other half we aren't gonna get back, because they really don't belong in New York.
Good question. I know that's something that, needs to be discussed at DSS because we do have a high population of homeless coming here. Staying and living in Vermont, living in Washington County, when look outside to Granville, in Vermont, like you said. Problem is that they could have moved and not had the money to change or not the time to change. I mean, I agree with him, it's an issue.
It'd be cheaper for us to give the money for the registration.
Vice versa, we have Warren County people coming in here saying they live in Washington County and going down here for services.
We only investigate those and they have to, there's a price they pay for that. So I just know, I'm not trying to be heartless, I'm just saying that, it seems that each state is given money to take, benefits to take care of. And,
Vermont doesn't always play nice,
right.
even with the DMV. So.
Exactly. Or any other agencies. Yes. True.
Is there any database you could use to track New York residents with a license plate?
No,
I do know a lot of people who have
yeah.
Vermont license plates for the New York address.
We are making a conscious effort. I know that Al had done it one time. We sent out people like myself who live in the middle of nowhere. So Easton Town, Greenwich phone landline, Scotticoke address. So I get those jury questionnaires from Rensselaer County all the time. So we are making a conscious effort down in DMV to make sure that when our friends come in from Easton and Jackson and Cambridge and White Creek, that they're down as Washington County residents and not Rensselaer County. That's the only thing we can do on that.
There's another thing. If you look at how many trailers are registered in Maine, all you need in Maine is a post office box. You can register trailers up there and it's costing New York State a lot, or Washington County a lot, right? Brian.
And I don't believe there's any way New York residents can have a Vermont license or a Vermont resident have a New York license. I don't think there's any.
I don't think it's the license. I think it's the registration is what.
Well, that's what I'm at.
Yeah. The registration is.
I don't think there's any way that that's even legal, so I think,
Unless they said they have a relative over there and they're using their address.
I know
or if they're
people,
using their car, but yeah, I don't think you can use their address. I just think that's.
I know people who have post office box.
Mhm.
In Vermont, register their car to the post office box in Vermont and have a driver's license in New York State.
Yep.
Hampton has quite a few of them. Some have businesses in Vermont using the business drivers.
We're not gonna have any authority to do anything about it. We ought to drop this.
Hampton supervisor.
We're not, you won't
Still their place.
other than,
We don't know if we haven't investigated until we investigate. it.
Shall that-
well, we've covered.
Please be
Yeah.
full.
Okay, mobile, anything else for mobile DMV? You did talk.
Sure. I just want to follow up real quick. So those of you that are still having issues, I've done multiple outreaches on the zip code problem that we have. It extends over not just DMV, but our sales tax, jury pools, even believe it or not, the amount of insurance you pay on like your home or a car, you're assessed a different risk pool, right? Especially since Rensselaer County is an 8% sales tax, we're at 7%. So we've made some strides, right? But we just can't seem to slay that beast. But there are 2 tools available, right? So I just want you all to know this, especially some of the new supervisors. There's 2 avenues that your residents can use. I'm one of them. I issue what's called a resident card that I actually sign. That we've been successful in people being able to present those to a business and prove they're a Washington County resident. A new tool that has been more successful because it's state-based, New York State Tax and Finance has on their webpage, it's a jurisdictional rate lookup tool. I know that's a mouthful, but you can send your residents to that tax and finance page. If they do a search under jurisdictional rate lookup tool and they punch in their address, the state actually produces a screen that you can print that shows what New York State Tax and Finance recognizes as your jurisdiction for sales tax, residency, all of that kind of stuff. That tool has become more successful than my card. Like I said, we made some strides with the card that I issued, right? Because it was better than nothing. This jurisdictional rate lookup tool for people who have like a Buskirk, Eagleville, Scotticoke, we even have some Warren County crossover in the northwestern part.
Too in Saratoga.
So, well, that goes the other way. So So there might be some people across the bridge in Southwest Falls before they were mailing them. We're not gonna talk about those. But we've made some strides in utilizing that jurisdictional rate lookup tool. So that's an easy one to send your residents to. And it's for simple things like your NIMO bill, your cell phone bill, your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance. They're paying more than they have to if they're not being their own advocate and the business is just going by their zip code. They're in a different risk pool and they don't even know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else? Next.
Last but not least, just the DMV plan for 2025. I already talked about the hard and fast deadline coming up. I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that this year we had in Washington County, 3,300 people's licenses were up for renewal. This year that we're in now, 2025, we will be looking at 7,000. So that's going to be increased revenue that we will have, but it also means I'm probably not going to be looking to downsize our employees in DMV. We do have somebody who is contemplating retirement in the next couple of months. Every day we get closer, just let you know that we have a plan in place about how we're going to do that, because we still have one camera, one scanning machine that's going to be utilized. My advice is, and myself included, if your license expires, say this year, or even in January of 2026, you can renew it up to a year ahead of time. So that might be advantageous for you to share that with your residents, with your family members, especially if they want to utilize us, because you have to have your eye test and you need to have your picture updated. And that can only be done in the office. And this is the same with Rensselaer County. Rensselaer County does mobile just about every day, but they don't have a camera either. Saratoga they don't have extra cameras. It's all has to be done in office. So if people can come in You're not losing anything. Mine expires in June. If I do it now, I'm not losing that time. It just gets added on to the other end, okay? So, and it said the projections for 2026 are even more. We're looking at 8,500 licenses. 2027, 8,800. 2028, 8,200. And it doesn't fall off until 2029.
So you have an option of using your current photo, you don't have to get a new photo.
You don't always have to get a new photo,
That's
but
why you buy enhanced, so it makes you look younger.
I keep on like I'm using one I have taken at 18.
we don't have like Photoshop.
Okay.
We're not
Well,
real cool with this
You
stuff.
did talk about being open Thursday nights.
That.
You talked about being open Thursday nights.
Yes, Thursday nights, we're going to do that. Looking at the numbers, I included those in that long sheet. It was very successful, I would say. I hope you all agree,
When does
looking
it
at the
start?
numbers. What?
Has it already started Thursday night?
No.
When does it start?
Well, we started it last year, May. And I'm looking to start it in April this
This
year,
year.
because it's after daylight savings time, so it's not dark at 4:30. Which makes our people happy, and it picks up in April, because then we're doing boats and more trailers and things like
And
that.
what do you end it in the fall?
We ended it, the end of September, so that's 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to do 6 months, Thursday nights, we're open till 6 o'clock. There is one holiday that falls in, Juneteenth is on a Thursday this year, so we will, of course, will not be open that night. But otherwise, that gives us 25 opportunities to serve the public on a Thursday night. Which is, I believe we're probably one of the only counties that offers late nights and Thursdays.
Well, that'll give you something to put on that billboard out.
Yep,
when they drive by.
yes.
All right.
Well, I like the Easy Pass, I like some color.
Any other questions for Lisa? Quick.
Yeah, wasn't bad.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Board of Elections. Stacy. Okay. For those of you who haven't met Stacy, is there a new Republican representative over there?
Nice to meet you, Stacy.
Anybody read the map, it's Jack.
You've been here forever. So,
First, I'd like to just touch base quick, a quick overview of the general election in November. First, I'd like to thank everybody that helped us. We had a lot of departments that stepped in and helped us for that election. I tried to name all the names, but it'd take a long time, and I'm sure I'd forget quite a few, so I just want to say thank you to all the departments that helped us. Went very smooth, 9 days of early voting, everything went very well. And everybody was great that helped us through it. We had busy turnout for early voting, busy every day. We did just shy of 7,000 voters come out and early voted. We had 6,913 voters that come out in that 9 day span. Election day at the polling places, we had 19,144 voters. Absentees, we did 2,478 absentee people voted by absentee. And affidavit voting, we had 362 affidavit voters. So overall, we had that voted, we had 28,897 voters for the general election.
Jeff, did you find a reduction or a large reduction in absentee ballots because of early voting? Or did it not change the statistics that much?
Well, looking back from the last, like, because of COVID, that time of COVID in 20, we had a lot more absentees.
Uh-huh.
That was. because
Well,
of
if you took
COVID.
that outlier out, I'm wondering if early voting is making it different. And people that can't come to the polls, which use the absentee ballot, is it not? That tells you whether it's their ability or with more of a conflict of timing.
Thing
I'm
we
just
have,
curious.
our-
Not important if you don't have it.
Yeah, our perms, we do like, we have around 600 or so permanent disabilities that we send out automatic every year, so. I think, a lot, yeah, with the people coming out early voting, it was a little less, I'm not exactly sure. But it was less this time.
So remind me, you used to be absentee, you had to have a reason.
Yeah, you don't have
You
to.
don't have to have one now, so really, it's not really even absentee voting anymore.
Well, there's like an early vote by mail application and then absentee vote application. Yeah, so you don't even need, whereas before you had to have a reason, now you don't.
Does the new forms, is that off the new forms now? They don't ask that question?
There's
just
two different forms. There's an early mail form
Yep.
and an absentee.
On
The
the
early mail form, it doesn't ask a reason why.
absentee.
You just fill it out.
Does it on the absentee? Is the last reason why?
The absentee,
I was
you
confused. I
have to
thought-
check whether permanent disabled,
Gotcha.
gonna
Okay,
be out of the county.
gotcha,
The other one just says what election you want.
gotcha.
So overall, countywide, we had like a 74% turnout for the general. Wanted to give you a quick overview.
It's amazing the range, some towns had under 50%, some towns had a lot higher than 74%.
And right now, we're expecting within 90 days to have a successful election, right?
We're gonna cover that in a second.
I thought you were done.
Yeah,
We're looking at your agenda once in a
Look at
while.
your agenda.
Hey, you didn't give me one day.
It's right there.
well,
It was emailed to you.
the special election was next, but actually, we're gonna talk about, bringing to a committee about our iPad, yeah. Yeah, our iPad grant, that we're bringing to the committee for our iPads. We have a grant for our poll books. And it's, from the state, so $52,641.68. So we're bringing that to committee because we need to purchase new iPads this year. We're looking at purchasing 10th generation iPads with our grant from the state. Because the ones we have now they're at end of life, the ones we have now. They won't accept any updates. This year, they're all done. They won't accept any more updates. They're not holding charges. We're having an issue this election. We had a lot of issues with keeping charged, holding charges. So we wanted to bring that to committee. And, that grant will be able to cover that, purchase for those iPads. So we want to bring that to committee.
So need a motion to accept the grant.
So we motion to accept the grant and move the budget to finance. And just so that Jeff and Terry are aware, we're going to order them until after February 21st when the resolution's adopted. So just want to keep that timeline in here.
Second.
A motion to accept the grant.
Second.
Is there any option to order them sooner?
Can't order them until you have the money.
Any questions on accepting the grant?
Yeah, how long?
Accept the
We have
grant.
90 days.
We get the grant.
I don't think special election, I don't think it's been declared yet, because
No, it doesn't.
they won't until presumably Congresswoman Stefanik is officially confirmed as you and
Right,
pastor.
that's why I said it's 90
So we do
days.
have a little bit of lead time depending on when that happens.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, we order them, they have to be then drop shipped to the vendor, not us, to be all configured, then sent here, trained, put together. So there's at least probably another month worth of work once they arrive here.
So when did we get the grant? I mean, are we waiting until next? It's already come.
Have we been awarded the grant already?
I don't. I'm sorry, he's in contact with you before, touch base with him a couple of times, he said he was, I'm just going by what he told me. I checked with him 2 or 3 times, I said.
If it's a grant we got last year, we should have already recognized it. That's why I'm asking. Because if you're waiting until the new fiscal year, it's April
Yeah,
first.
as soon as you find you have the money, it should come here.
Right, but I would think.
I
that
don't
we've
know when
already-
I don't know when this amount was released to you.
Right, that's what I don't know is if it's been recognized already is what my question.
It has to be spent by March 31st of this year.
Which means we would have already recognized it, I would have thought.
Can we do
Tom
the,
did bring it, I wanna
Yeah,
say
I thought we did.
That's what I-
September or October, maybe, one of those, but I don't know if it was recognized, but I remember hearing it.
can we do a conditional motion?
We can do it, doesn't hurt to accept it again.
We can move it to finance easily and we'll figure it out by then. but-
Let's,
But Terry's looking,
Unless it's available already, that's what I don't say. Is there a way to do it faster?
I mean, it is.
I think that's what Terry's asking, and
It's a reimbursement grant, it's not where we get the money first, is my understanding.
Yeah, right.
almost all of ours are reimbursement based, where you have to pay for it and then
And then
apply
you get
for it.
reimbursed.
But I know it wasn't budgeted for, so the money's not there to buy it.
Correct.
Yeah,
So first is that, let's just recognize the grant, just in case.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, the second part is the budget amendment. Budget amendment, if we know the amount we're getting, then we should make a motion to move finance.
So I'll work with elections between now and finance and get you some answers on what's going on with the award and this.
A motion to move this finance. Lance, by the second. Second by Tim and Sam. Any further discussion?
No discussion.
No. Well, there's discussion over here. We know what it's about.
Well, you guys do what you gotta do.
Okay. All in favor? Carrie, thank
it
you.
wasn't much, but we did it.
Keep him on his toes, will you, Jim?
Special election.
Yeah, so, as you like, the 21st congressional seat now, at least leaving, it's gonna cause a special election, which we didn't budget for a special election, so that's gonna, we're gonna have to have a special election. So that's
So it has to be 70 to 80 days from when it's announced.
from the
right?
proclamation.
Yeah, so I.
80 days, so it could
So she
be
is in front of the Senate today. So it could be this week,
March to April, could be.
and then whenever she resigns, then
80
It's
days.
from her resignation,
She doesn't
not
have
from
to-
confirmation.
she doesn't have to resign immediately. She can resign when she decides to
Right.
take the position.
So from the date of the proclamation, 80 days from that, so. They're figuring, anywhere from March to end of April.
So we haven't budgeted for a special election.
No.
What do you
That could be
consider the cost of that?
approximately $40,000. Because you gotta have 9 days early voting. We have to pay inspectors for 9 days, and salary for inspectors, truck rental. Kind of got to blow down $2,500 for 2 trucks, because it's a full rollout. It's the, 21st, it's the whole county. 9 days early voting. See, the inspector paid for that 5,000 approximately for the 9 days early voting, 30,000 for election day,
You have a budget in front of you?
kind of like a breakdown. Legal ads,
Jeff, are most all of your elections about the same cost?
yeah, pretty close.
And so what's the number of elections did you budget for?
We budgeted for, the normal,
You didn't budget for this, right?
not for a special. but
No, forget that.
We always budget for a primary, like a village primary and general.
So 3.
So he's proposing a budget amendment of 42,700.
That's a little on the high, we just averaged up from, but one thing too, a primary. It's probably gonna be, won't be a whole state primary, it's looking at, it's probably like a local primary, so. We budgeted for a full primary, so there'll be a little extra there. Cause it's probably only gonna be like a local.
Brian, what is the issue with not doing anything until he runs out of money in his budget?
No issue. He's got money there to run the election because he's got that for him.
Right.
So we'll move it when the time comes.
So before the general election in the fall, you know what you are gonna be over budget.
We'll know by the
We can hold off till then. to-
I'm just giving you a heads up.
FYI.
And that's really,
We
like,
didn't budget.
even if you need the iPads too, it's the same idea.
Well, we definitely need eyes.
You need them, but if they're not here by April, they're just not here, and you gotta use what you got. I mean, that's where we'll be at, if we can't get them in time.
I don't think you can.
No.
The state won't let you use the outdated iPad.
Yeah, we can't, because they won't take them.
Well, they're probably outdated for the next election
No,
that's
we-
scheduled, not the one
Don't
that
die,
isn't scheduled.
we can't, they won't take anything up.
Any elections are this year.
So what are you gonna do if you don't have them? How you gonna do?
Go back to the speaker book.
I was gonna say, if you don't have
All right,
them,
well,
you're still gonna have an election.
Al's gonna work at it between now and finance. We'll have better answers in finance, correct, Al?
But you could order them and them not even come in. That's what I'm saying. You're,
No, we're in contact with 10X, I believe. Oh, that's right, we gotta send them.
yeah.
Jay?
The special election doesn't have any primaries. So.
No,
Right.
It's just the.
it's just gonna be
That's why it's
an election. They'll have the candidates.
Okay, so we're all set with that?
I need a little better understanding. What is wrong with ordering the iPads now? I mean, are we breaking rules or?
It's not in the budget. You can't create a deal for money you don't have.
Right, but we are a board that can adapt, right, and adjust.
So
I mean, is it more convenient? Are we causing more inconvenience by saying, well, sorry? Or should we be taking a proactive approach to this and say, what can we do to expedite this?
So a legal option that you could entertain, trying to work through some scenarios in my head. So if Terry has it in her budget, we could always have IT cut a PO to buy the iPads. And after the February board meeting, when the grant is recognized, we can reimburse Terry's budget. You can't just overdraw your budget willy-nilly. Right. It's not a thing. Yeah, you have to have the money. If Terry has the money, we could probably work out a scenario where Jeff pays Terry back before that March 31st deadline, and then applies for the reimbursement to the state.
Or, Al, question, could we take it out of the contingency fund? Reimburse contingency fund? when we
But
get
that
the
still
money?
takes board
It still takes
action.
board action. You can't have.
Either way, you're-
21st.
The only way to do it
Special
before
meeting.
February 21st is to have Terry order you.
So if Terry
It's
looks at
the
the
only
budget,
scenario.
It's
he
right
knows he's got 47,
Is she nodding yet?
whatever the number is,
Liz
52,000.
listening.
Yeah,
You could order them.
I would have the money in the right account to be able to do that. Is there any problem with the grant with it coming out of my
That would
budget?
be my question.
They're just gonna be looking for the canceled check to the vendor. They're not gonna care what budgetary line it came up.
So. Are we all set? We need any motions, Al?
I think that if that's amenable to Terry, then we can make that work.
Do that and then just put the funds back in after.
Correct.
Now, does that motion have to go to finance?
No, that's an
No, that's
internal
budget.
process.
So
Already budgeted.
we just need, so we don't need any action
don't need
or
any
do we
more
need
action.
to?
And then you guys can get the machines ordered right away.
Terry can do it,
Terry can do
in
it.
essence, he can do it today.
But everything still goes through finance, just the way we schedule.
Everything's still gonna go through finance. Your motion still stands.
Right, your motion still stands and it goes
Right.
through the February board meeting.
We
Understand
need
that.
50 computers, we don't need 41.
Why do we need to go through she's got her budget.
We still have to put it in their
You
budget.
need to recognize this grant
No,
and
she
his
can pay for it
budget.
out of her budget.
I would still have to
He's gonna
recognize
be able to
his
pay her
budget.
Right.
Yeah, but budget is just a budgetary item. It's not actual cash. There's a difference between
She
budget
can
and
spend
actual.
her money before it goes to you.
Right, she's just spending her money to get the job done. We still have to
We have
put
to pay
everything
her
through his
back.
account.
That doesn't delay us in ordering them.
She can order them today.
Right, that's my point. That's what I was trying to get across.
So Al gets the stuff to finance, then we'll be sure what we're gonna do, right?
It sounds like this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna order them through IT and reimburse her.
Then it's a full,
That's great.
As long as she's buying on state contract, that's good.
The only thing I would caution, Jeff, should you verify that you got the grant?
He has his award letter.
You do have it,
Yeah,
okay.
we have it.
There was some issue earlier when you said you.
I don't have it right here.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying.
The issue was
Good.
accepted by the board, and
Hey,
that was the issue.
now that we're still on this, one quick question. What do you do with the old iPads? Throw them away or are they usable for another department?
That's up to the,
No, Apple made them end of life, so they're no longer usable. They won't update.
So it's just recycling them or?
Yeah.
okay, we're all set on that issue. Anything else?
Well, I think we covered the grant special election.
So you're gonna get together with Terry so she knows what she got ordered and she can get those done for you. So that'll save 3 weeks in the process by the time we have a finance meeting. So.
That could be a whole month.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you can get them on time.
Good.
Unless that you have to.
We don't pick this on that whole month, maybe.
It might not be.
No,
That's right. I would encourage, anytime you get those releases from the
Are
state,
you imagine?
get them here as soon as
Oh,
you can.
it's the way they want it.
I know, I'm just saying.
Moving on. We're all set with that. We know what we're doing. We're all set. Any other questions about the elections?
I don't know if we.
There's a train to go.
Yeah, well, we do.
The town.
Are we ready to move on?
Something that you should.
Okay, county attorneys, thank you. It's usually not discussed. Next item is county attorney wants to create the position of supervising assistant county attorney.
And reviewed this at the finance meeting. I think at the end of the year, we adopted the staffing pattern. I now have one open assistant county attorney position with Hannah swearing in on Thursday. What I would ask to do is to change the remaining open assistant county attorney position to a supervising assistant county attorney position. Be consistent with the other structures of the DA's office and public defender's office. Each of those offices have two. I only have one. It'll allow me and more importantly, I think Tim to be able to concentrate more on the duties we have assigned and allow this attorney to kind of supervise and bring Hannah along. I can tell you, I had a couple of inquiries about the assistant county attorney position. Actually had three. Two of the attorneys, all three of the attorneys are currently attorneys in other counties, and all are making significantly more than the current assistant county attorney position pays. So basically, I'm trying to bring an equivalent structure. It also will provide a path for advancement, a more definitive path, because as we currently stand now, we have two assistant attorneys, and whenever I get replaced, which hopefully won't be for a while, it could cause some rough feelings if you're choosing between two people in the same title. My planned hire date, assuming the board would eventually move this to personnel and finance and approve it at the February meeting. I'd be looking hopefully at the end of March. I spoke with Al. I do have breakage to cover the position this year, and I do understand the next year would have approximately 9,100 to the budget for next year.
I'm gonna make a motion to move it to a personnel.
Sam? Jim? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Gary? Anything else for the county attorney?
Not at this time.
Thank you very much. Buildings and grounds.
Got snacks here.
Yep, I need to be re-energized here before I listen to you.
Yeah, be here for a while.
I'm looking for the beer tap.
All right. Let's start with a quick update on the barns. No fall, import in are going pretty smooth right now. The fields are going up rather quick. I think siding insulation was scheduled for Middle Falls to start going up this week. Port in, be another 3 weeks before that happens. I think we gotta start doing some of the masonry blocks that aren't done yet. But other than that, they're moving right along.
What's your estimation of completion out of the two?
August first probably for Dam. We're still trying to bang out a schedule. We're in the process of that. Middle Falls. I'm pretty confident we're gonna probably closer to May
Not this year.
this year.
Oh, this year, so.
Yeah, there's a lot more infrastructure that's already done at Middle Falls. They're pretty proactive getting it done. So spring comes and it should be more finished work than.
Well, that's good news.
So I think right now we're good on that. I do have one thing about Fort resolution 45 from last year. It just came up when we went to pay a bill. Al, we had a resolution 45 for 36,900. That was an error on my part. I thought I brought it back to committee and we talked about it and added the right amount, but I can't find it in the minutes anywhere or in anything. But we did change it because we changed the contract price to the correct price. So Bob has already signed the contract. It's like 8,000 more.
44.9.
44.9 is what the resolution should have read instead of 36,900. So I think it's just I don't know how we make this right. Do we amend a resolution or do we
Just send a budget amendment to bank for $8,000.
for $8,000?
Motion
Keep it simple.
$78,000.
Yep.
Lance, second by Tim. And Jim, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
So. What else you got?
Just more updates. But if you have questions,
I have a question.
you got questions on Barnes right now?
No, not Barnes.
Okay, the next update would be, on the Burgoyne campus project. We had the kickoff meeting this morning and they were rolling right around us starting work. So we just went from 0 to full speed ahead on that project this morning. I have a lot of coordination to do with both Board of Elections and code enforcement. I plan on meeting with them as soon as this afternoon, as soon as I can get everybody to sit down. I will be getting a schedule. We had all the contractors there today, so they have about a week to input on the master schedule that the general contractor provided, you know, any of their lengths and durations and everything else. You know, with board elections, I guess we're gonna have special elections and there's a few tasks that they need to complete. But during any abatement, you know, I'm gonna need them out of the building for that amount of time. So whether they're working from home for a short time. At that end of the building, there isn't much of an abatement. There's a little bit of a discrepancy in the report. We weren't expecting to do abatement down there. They just left one line in the report. We have to get a clarification basically that says roof debris and ceiling could possibly. So we have to get that clarified. And if that's the case, the only thing we have to do, you know, if it's good, is just pull the drop ceiling down so the ductwork and the sprinkler system guys could get in, cause much less of a headache than if we have to actually start that abate down there.
So I have a question. The special election is probably gonna be in April. Is the abatement gonna conflict with that? Because you have equipment there,
The special,
polling station.
the special inspection, or the abatement will be done in a month, one way or another, so now. So that'll be in February. So
They're gone, but I think.
they are, I mean, I haven't had a chance, Dave, I mean, we're just getting this information as of, you know, Friday and this morning. I'll sit down with them, but I do know this, like, we kind of waited a little bit because election year last year, you know, there's always gonna be something. So at some point, we're gonna have to coordinate and try to figure out, because we don't wanna push.
You're gonna have special elections, primaries, all this, all going on
Yes,
during this whole process.
and we're gonna have, right, they need to take the petitions and they need to be open to public. So that's the discussion we're gonna have, and I can probably
Oh, that's a June.
give you an update, maybe in the next couple of weeks, if finance or something, of how we're gonna do that.
So really voting could start as early as mid-March.
Well, it's 9 days before the day, but whatever it's gonna be, that's gonna happen. Then you're gonna have your primary, that's gonna happen before the August 1st complete. I mean,
If we need a primary.
going on.
And we'll get that information. I'll work with Stacy and Jeff and try to figure out how that's gonna all work. I know it's a pretty intense project, but we also have the deadline for the project, too, so I'm sure we can figure something out. The north end of the building is evacuated. We moved adult nutrition over to the basement temporarily in the annex until this can all take place. So the contractors really have full access to the north end of the building. They're building the wall when I left from here, right by where the bubble was to seal off that end of the building. So start their abatement at that end.
So you're still entering where you did to go to the left, to go to the south.
The public is unchanged for now, and that will change for 2 to 3 weeks. Because that's what it's gonna take at the north end of the building. I think there's gonna be 3 stages of the abatement. The last one not coming until after spring, and that's the mechanical room and possibly the gym. We might seal that off and do that one section, south section. That's what we'll expect this morning. Because obviously some of the stuff inside the boilers, so can't take them offline, so. All that's just starting to work out.
Any questions for Matt? Well, I have one question. It's something we have been looking at for several years. And well, 6 or 7 years ago, we had a study done on the parking lot. And we identified what had to be done. When I look at the parking lot, I see several areas sinking more. We should bring that project up to date to figure out what we have to do. And if we don't do it, looking at potential issues, and first thing I get back is, well, it's only gonna cost $25,000 to get sued by someone. But I think there is, the other part of it is a municipality, we should be protecting our citizens coming in here. So I think we have to at least figure out a way, if we need to do the full parking lot, or to look at potentially things we have to do. So do you have access to the old parking lot study?
Oh, I absolutely do. We brought this up last year, so I don't have it with me, but I can present it next month or whenever you want, but I do have a proposal. Because obviously the engineering that we didn't do a study. We actually engineered the parking lot, but that has changed. Even so, I've called that company that did that engineering. They're like, well, we can give you a proposal to redo it. It's not ready to go out to bid 8 years later the way it was at that time. When we did go out to bid, so there would be changes. But what we did get a proposal from our term contract on how to stage it, part A, B, C, so you could do different parts. And I do have that proposal right now, in my files, which I was planning on, presenting.
Okay, I just want to bring it up because I've noticed several areas are still sinking a lot more.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Shaw was first.
How much more can you put on your plate?
That's why I did.
I mean, no, seriously, we've got 3 major projects.
4 major, because we got the fire system.
Well, okay.
Yeah, which.
I mean, do we really want to start this for you for this year, or hold off here to something kind of clears here?
Well, there's
How
a
much-
reason we didn't do it before, because we thought we were gonna knock down the buildings over there. And
Well, yeah, but forget all that. It's where we are now, not where we were before.
How many years we kicked down
Still, that's not the point. The point is, how much can he handle it once and still do a good job?
That's up to him, but we're selling,
Right.
we want to revisit that. He was planning to bring it back at some time.
And so all I'm asking him is, how much more can you handle on your plate?
Handle the discussion, but we can't handle any more projects like this one.
But even if they
We
did,
can't. I mean,
for
that's-
engineering, it's gonna be a long time to get that back. We're talking probably fall to get that back. Or
Is it in the budget, all this engineering, start this over? No? this might not be the time to start it until,
This is time to start.
till we got the money or plan on it.
Who's first? Al was next.
I reserve the right to be a dark cloud later. Go ahead, Brian.
Brian?
My question is, if I remember correctly, a lot of people aren't happy or weren't happy with the way it was engineered to move water in different directions. Are we gonna look?
That wasn't really the case of the parking lot. The parking lot engineering, that was a study that was done for, what we weren't happy with was the Grand Global study that we had done.
Okay,
That was something that was,
so the parking lot, we're just
the
looking at
parking lot, we
redoing it the
put
way
out
it
the
is.
bid, right, we put it out the bid.
Right,
And, we already had it engineered, it was already done, we decided not to do it at that time. We had bids, we
so
didn't
we had,
accept anything.
if I remember right, we had certain points that did need work. And we were needing to take out the old pavement and put in new, so we didn't have to change the sidewalk.
And there was drainage inside.
There was drainage,
Yes.
stormwater issues down there too.
Right, it was all, there were,
Oh, so we can't expand our parking lots here. We don't have space to meet the new codes for, basically your DEC water runoff
right,
and stuff like that. So you'd have to have more space. So we couldn't expand, but we could work with what we have. Wasn't a problem.
so. If we look at it this time though, do we have more issues with actual sidewalks?
So yes, part of the proposal.
I mean, the
don't quote me,
scope's
but-
changed a little
Right,
bit
the
this
scope,
time.
I think part A would be from the main entrance where the mail gets delivered and all deliveries, the loading dock, and the back parking lot, I believe was scope A. Scope B was maybe down at the jail. Scope C was sidewalks and, entrance ramp and a few things that we needed done. And then scope D was the parking lot that was in front of motor vehicles between. Because that way we could leave that separate. If we decide to do something with that building down, we can take that out of the scope. It was never engineered that way. It was engineered as one big project before. And that did everything in front of the jail. It did everywhere, did it, even out by the annex.
Right.
I just need clarification on this. 2/3 of the supervisors weren't here. Are we talking fixing the existing parking lot, drainage, or are we talking about the whole new redesign that we paid all kinds of stupid money for, and you still couldn't get a car off the road out there without it hung out there?
We're not talking about the redesign. Redesign included the annexes over there.
Right.
Redoing the garage.
This is
What's over here?
just.
We're just
fixing
talking about
the
this parking lot.
Existing exists, yes. And just the proposal that I had, they did come up, they did some testing, they did test holes and everything. The original design, I'm not saying that was bad, it was full depth reclamation everywhere, which if you're in road turns, you probably hear that from Deb. That's a more costly thing. They thought there was multiple areas that they didn't need it. In their opinion versus the first engineers, only because the trucks are only traveling one certain route, so they didn't feel like the whole parking lots may need it exactly as much as that first job had done. So there was some changes, that they proposed, but I'll get you that, as soon as possible. I can get you that proposal. I didn't bring it yet because I just wasn't ready to bring it yet. I mean, I kind of got to study it first, but when you ask me a lot of questions, I can answer them, and I have not had time to do that.
I'm not asking right away, I'm asking you to put it on your plate because
Yep.
we've had some issues out there.
Sure.
With the sidewalks, look at our orange cones out there. You look at some of the sidewalks that are issues and look at some of the areas that are sinking again. It's only a matter of time.
I agree.
At the same time, where did you get with the pavers in the back entrance and all that? Remember you talked about that?
That's part of the scope.
That was all part of that
That's-
same scope.
yes. Which scope C or A or B, whatever it was, was part of the papers and everything. You hear from the sheriff, we are looking at doing something down by their flagpole. It was designed with the star kind of fancy concrete work, when it was originally put there. That's all broken up. We had somebody fall down there the other day. So we got cones around that spot too. He did something that we were looking at doing in-house. We did have some quotes a couple of years ago to get started on. They were pretty high. So we didn't do it at the time, didn't even have money for it. So I talked with the sheriff. We're talking about other ways to, you know, hey, let's make it safe and redo the sidewalk in that open area and redo the flagpole. And if it's still something that you need, you know, to make it look nice or whatever, we can do something, you know, different than this star. All right, Mr. Dark Cloud.
I just asked you, wait till I get my strength back before you bring me this budget.
It's in the money tree with it.
We learned the penalty of waiting to do things. That part of that was $850,000 when we bid it out. I can't tell what it's gonna be these days.
It was $750 and I'm estimated at $900. We beat it by a lot.
2017.
2017.
Yeah, but it'll be a lot more this time.
We should have done it. All right, anything else? Or, Matt?
So he said enough.
We said no. Yeah. And, only one mention of IT was that some people weren't here when we did a complete IT study. I just happened to find that the other day. If anyone would like to see the complete IT study, it was done. That we built off making the changes we did in our cybersecurity and our entire department there. I have a copy if anyone wants to see it. It was really a good study. And I think we got more benefit out of that one than any other study we ever did.
All the studies we've done, that's the one that really paid off.
And led to developing the IT department or the IT committee and redoing the entire thing. And we actually had one person who went to her own with cybersecurity. She really liked that and she did a fantastic job. We mentioned Karen Pratt earlier. Did a fantastic job with IT and she made presentations all over the state. Thank you. Anything else come before the committee?
Yes, sir. Just a quick auction update. I think it's good news. So I've been working with the auctioneer. I think I talked to you a little bit about this at finance. Been going back and forth with the auctioneer. What best works for the county, what best works for the taxpayers, what best works for the auction company. It looks like we've settled on September 10th to kick off our online auction. The good news about that is Mr. Roselle had asked about possibly getting the 23s across the finish line and just doing one, being caught up, and then starting fresh for 26. That would be fantastic. It will be my goal to try to get across the finish line on the current enforcement, so that in September, we're caught up with all of the delinquent properties. I'm currently sitting at 157. But traditionally, when those people start seeing those orange signs in the yard, that number goes down. That's a bigger number than we've had to deal with probably ever. We normally run 40, 50 in a bad year, right? So
Well, we've been over 100 at this point. And then they whittle
it's
down.
not uncommon to start 127 to 150 in the beginning of the process, so, you know, but this will be a little bit bigger than usual. And if I get the 23 across the finish line, that'll add a few more. But I wanted to kind of give you an update. I know Mr. Roselle had asked about, do we really need to do two? Can we just do one and be done with it? And it looks like that's the path we're headed down. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update there. And unfortunately, the installment agreements that we had entered into last year, I've already got some defaults. So I didn't think we would ever have 100%, but I'm surprised that in month 2, I already have defaults. So.
What kind of a process?
It doesn't surprise me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shaw.
What kind of a process is in a default?
So when someone is in default of their installment agreement, I send them a certified letter. They have 45 days to cure the default, in which case, if they don't cure it, they're kicked out and they can never enter back in based on the local law that you passed.
And
So once they're out, they're out.
does that put it automatically into that other auction list?
So if anybody who's in default currently would be headed to the September auction, yes, sir. The next important date for the installment contract people, the other piece that was passed into local law is they have to stay current on their taxes. So any of those installment agreement people that have their 2025s turned over to me in April are then in default also.
Oh, they are, that soon.
But they have until April to get their 25s. I just wanted to kind of give you an update on where we are with the enforcement.
So there's a little bit of bright cloud over there today.
What's that?
You had your dark cloud and then you go to your bright clouds
Where's the bright
on
cloud?
the auction.
Taking property is not a bright cloud.
Yeah. Especially with the new process.
You've done out real hard.
I did, but
Dave, let this
You got
meeting
nothing
go
on.
so we can get on to the next one.
Anything else? We're adjourned.
You're the gas.
Economic Committee to order and let everybody know it is 13 minutes to noon. So everybody be mindful of that when you give your monthly report, but I don't want to miss a thing. So we need the details, but just remember. I need a motion to accept the minutes. We got a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We're gonna start right out by the tourism year-end report. Black Dog.
Give Deb a second to bring it up.
What have I
So
got?
while Deb is bringing it up, I want to point out, so we're going to hear from Black Dog, their end of year report, and HVAC, their end of year report. Contracts for both agencies are up this year, so I will be asking the committee to renew both of their contracts. We've been renewing on about a 3-year basis, so we'll give you a summary of what the year has been, what we're planning on, and then discuss updating it.
What part of the year are they up?
December 31st of last year.
Oh, so they're up right now?
Yes.
Good to know.
But there was
They
no
are,
meeting-
they're
right, but
expired.
there's no meeting in December, so we couldn't do that, which is why we're doing it all.
So, Black Dog, are you ready? Almost. So we want a good report, right? If we're gonna have a good contract coming up.
Right.
We just have to wait for Deb when she says
problem.
to go. It's a go.
Well, we can go ahead and do yours.
All over there.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. I got a little cheat sheet here, if that's okay with everybody. My name is Jesse Tyree from Black Dog. I feel as if I've met many of you before. If I haven't, it's nice to meet you. Nice to see you again. We're pretty excited about the performance from last year's campaign work and everything that was achieved. Once we get this presentation up, we can take you through it real quick. Is there any way to make that full screen?
Probably is.
Jesse, why don't you show her how to do this?
Yeah, that's what I was like, should just be able to hit you. But if this is good enough for everybody, we can do it like that. I know you're all ready for lunch.
Yeah.
Lunch is just as nutritious at 1 o'clock as it is at noon.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, Judge Burke.
Well, let's try that. This little stretch the page, Luke. Yeah, full screen mode. Oh, awesome. Good. Down to the bottom.
It's for the very last we got.
All right. All the same size, right? Got how we roll, right? All right, cool. So I'll first want to introduce my colleagues. This is Alexa Shippey and Hannah Nowak. They are really like the brains in terms of the writing of the content, a lot of the photography. So first, I want to give the credit to them. I am mouthpiece to talk to you today, but I guess responsible for all of that. So if we want to flip over to this page, I'll just do like the next thing. All right, awesome. So 2024 represent a lot of continued growth. We have pretty consistent growth across all the platforms that we've been using to promote the county, but we also did a lot of emphasis on creating our own media. So photo, video, things like that, media that we or you, the county, own itself. Instead of just giving our money out to advertisers and things like that, we invested a lot of that money into giving the county articles, photography, assets that they own. You can see we've got a few bullets here about, you know, I'll get into the series later, but we've got some trails videos that were made. We've been publishing these videos on YouTube and Hulu. We got a ton of B-roll that we're able to use on social media. We held 2 meeting of the minds across the county, North and South County. And we also had those focused on the 250th, which we'll jump into a little bit. This How It's Made series is pretty exciting, and that's where a lot of budget went. This is us, this is us essentially that right there. This is us going out to different businesses inside the county and spending about a half day with each of them. During that time there, Hannah and Alexis are essentially interviewing them, getting their story, capturing photo, capturing video. So the point of that is, how are things made at B and Bramble? How are they made at Wild Hill Maple, Sperry's Farm? And we're using that as information to really highlight those businesses in the county. We're also capturing photo and video. So it's a series where we're going out all the time. We're meeting with businesses. We're really just hearing their story. In addition to that, I Love New York really loves to group and cluster together businesses. We can't promote one single business utilizing their funding. So a lot of those are essentially getting clustered into individual videos. So if there were, say, 3 or 4 maple producers, those maple producers get their own highlight, and then there's also a compilation that talks about it. That was received very well from the individual businesses. We've also spent a lot of work on the 250th campaign and celebration, which is really ramping up over the past year. There are email newsletters that go out. There are blogs and articles. We also participated in Living History Weekend through a video shoot, and Hannah attends monthly the history committee meetings in person, so she's able to understand their needs and do what we can inside the contract to help them out. We converted the visitor's guide from a single bifold to a multi-page guide, and having Amy here has been immense. I just want to really shout out that Amy's help in having that connection through New York State, I Love New York, the Film Commission is making it so that we are able to more effectively work on our deliverables versus coordinate and ask for approval from state representatives and things like that. So really, really just want to reflect how valuable. The website had a little bit of work on it, but at the end of last year, if you remember, we did quite a bit of significant work to the website, redesigning it. So on the website, there were really some small additions, those being landing pages for groups as well as film. We also reorganized some of the menu pages on the site based off where people are going, what they were looking at. And we added stay to the homepage along with see, taste, and explore. Again, hitting in that where are people going to stay when they're here, and we can dive into the results of that a little bit later. But again, those are just highlights from our conversation last year. How can we get more photo video? How can we really promote the individual businesses and group them together? How can we ramp up this 250th? And what additions can we make to the website in order to make it better for individuals? Right. One thing to note on the website is last year we proposed spending less money on advertising and more money on our agency being able to create things that the county owns. So you'll see that we still had an increase in organic traffic even though we stopped buying ads. So for example, if 1 month last contract, we spend $500 on a month on Google Ads, we spent 0 these months and we essentially gained significant traffic. So what we're trying to do is put that energy into actual information on the site versus a temporary push to the site being in. We also built an entire 250th section that has a landing page, there's dedicated events, there's resources, and then an entire monthly blog series for these articles to really push on. Right, when it comes to some of the traditional things, this is close to, I'll say this in a nice marketing way, close to 200 requests per month for visitors guides that we receive. So that was close to 2,400 through the entire year. Those visitors guides are mailed out physically, email, whatever the person might prefer. We also received close to 3,000 new email subscribers, which is pretty significant. We're at a total of 12,000 now. But again, we started with 0 when we originally began this, and 3,000 over the course of a year is pretty good. Those are from ads, they're from that flannel fall crawl event, and they're from us essentially having a pop-up on the site. Would you like to receive information? We also earned multiple organic I Love New York features, which is a relationship that's very beneficial to the county because our relationship with our reps at I Love New York has us sending them real stories, real photos that have been taken, and then they're distributing that through their statewide tourism there. Those could be the kiosks at rest areas, articles from I Love New York, and even at times, if we're really lucky, maybe some of that photo or video makes it into an ad campaign that they were. And then this very last bullet, earned media. Earned media is something that it's like when we do all this promotion and then Capital Region Living writes an article about what to do in Greenwich, New York, that means that their eyes are on that area. We're disregarding any effort that we made. These things are being brought up into essentially PR and public visibility, and they're taking their own actions to write these things and discover them based off people's interests. A lot of you seem to be here for the EDC award that was awarded in June, and that was these names are like super long. Marketing Best in Class Award presented to Washington County for branding and awareness. So that was an award that this work won. But more excitingly for me, I guess, is an additional award that we submitted and were awarded through NYSTIA. NYSTIA is the New York State Tourism Industry Network. So all of our peers, all of the counties inside of the state essentially participate. And we submitted the trails and itineraries campaign that we did. A lot of you see those rack cards. There's pages for every trail on the site. We submitted all of that with branding, the work, the results, and things like that. And there is Alexis and Chris on the left, essentially receiving that award for projects under $500,000. That was pretty successful. This is an example of Scott being so excited that Hannah and Alexis came out there, but it's just a reflection of, you know, they're spending that time, they're spending that day with them, and they're essentially really embracing that story. They're writing an article, pushing now, having photos, and it's not unnoticed by the business. This is pretty consistent. It's not overly exciting to me to see this 8.8% growth, but again, if we really look at the fact that we're not paying people to go to the website, the positive is we have got a close to 10% increase of people visiting the site through organic. But to me, the exciting portion is 30% growth in page views. So the people that are going to the site are essentially spending more time, viewing more pages versus hitting that site and then bouncing off of it in 5 minutes or less. We want people to spend their time. We want them to understand, just like we want them to visit. This is, again, pretty consistent, right? New York, Albany, Queensbury, nothing major here. And this is a reflection of where website users visit us from. So we're seeing pretty consistently 60% of the users coming from social media, But also we did get an increase in users searching through Google. So that could be things to do outside of Saratoga, things to do upstate New York, maple making, whatever it may be. That is people arriving to the site based off search terms of what they want, not seeing an advertisement and not directly searching for Washington. That organic traffic was 36% over the past year, which is great. And these are the top 20 most visited pages on the website. I think that this is pretty eye-opening. To me, we could just totally disregard number one, the homepage doesn't really count. But if we look at pages, the top three, we've got fun, dog-friendly activities, parks and more. We have events and the 250th. So parks, activities, what to do with your furry friend or whatever we call it, is not something that we've really had a lot of emphasis or created. Having that be one of the most visited pages really shows a reflection of what people are looking to do. And it gives us the confidence to create information and content in that manner. Events, again, consistently year over year, people are really interested in the events, whether they're seasonally, weekly, whatever they may be. But to see the 250th right up there in the top three is really rewarding because we put a lot of work into that and to see it show. One of the things I wanted to show that in the top 20 here is number 16 on the right-hand side, places to stay. Places to stay has not been something on the website at all. The website has certainly more than 20 pages on it. So to see that people are looking for places to stay means that we probably want to continue that conversation. We want to make sure that people receive that information. And regarding any statewide changes for STRs, it's certainly something people are spending their time. Consistent growth on Facebook, Instagram. Again, not a place that we said we want to buy followers and have them go to the site. So it's just organic, natural growth. Pretty similar on Instagram as well, these channels. And this to us is really interesting and engaging. This is a direct relationship that these people have with the county tourism program. So everybody on this list essentially opted in and said, I would like to receive information. This has grown close to 30% just this year in terms of the number of people on that list. And both the business audience as well as the consumer audience have pretty consistent open rates, but the events and the information that people are interested in, again, consistent in terms of events, 250th and things to that effect. This is where quite a bit of budget, time, and energy went into, is creating these videos, these video shoots, and capturing this video. The way that we've sort of laid this out, not to get too in-depth, is we have a schedule of photography and video shoots. They touch on the subject matter that we're looking to express through the campaign work. We then try to arrange maybe like three visits a day. That would be 3 individual businesses. So these ladies are out maybe 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, and they're going until 5 or at the end of the day. They coordinate with the business owners and they essentially say, this is what we're coming for. Here are the questions we're going to ask you. These things will be recorded if we want you to talk about X. And we were able to hit, I don't know, a dozen or so days last year. So that's 30 or so businesses. And you can see through the video work, this has been, 40% increase year over year. Got close to 12,000 hours on YouTube of these videos watched. And the most highly watched videos meaning are the Antique Trail, the Who We Are, and the Grown-In. To us, this is showing that people kind of want to understand that authentic experience in the county. Who are the people making things? Where can they go? What is a day like in their experience versus just, flashy photos of drone photography or video, anything like that. They want to understand how they're going to spend their time. Some of those takeaways, again, just to reiterate that, are we're having increased traffic to the site through the blogs and the written content. So featuring the businesses, talking about events, talking about the reality is consistently pushing up, us in the search rankings. The county businesses seem to be fairly, really interested in history and the 250th. So figuring out how to get all those personalities and all those desires into an actionable plan is certainly our goal at this time of the year. And again, a shift from running ads through these publications into own media did not slow growth. What that means is last year and maybe some of the prior years, we had contracts with local papers or things to that effect. I'll just throw an example of NYBT Media. Hypothetically, if there was a $10,000 contract with them last year and we were placing ads, and we were placing ads in their emails, we decided, let's not do that again. We've done that year over year and we can't necessarily understand the value. So that budget was essentially repurposed to create that media that you've seen, which gains more long-term value to the county. But even though we reduced those contracts, those ad spends, none of this slowed down at all. So we need to consistently evaluate where we're spending those dollars and make sure that it's the most effective for you. Any questions so far?
Good report.
Just, with the short-term rental law taking effect September 22nd, and now having sales tax and activity tax attached to that, it seems like we have an opportunity now to leverage that new law and break through the mental barrier that we've had in the past. There's no place to stay in Washington County. I think we have an opportunity in front of us that will benefit us, additional revenue and breaking through that. Well, there's no place to stay in Washington County. Well, there is.
Hannah actually did a great job. She actually broke down a lot of the short-term rental properties based on the type of stay. So whether it's a farm stay or like a unique bus conversion or B&Bs and kind of classic stays, and broke those down. So we have a lot going out. And so that's more content that we can repurpose and use going forward, like you're saying. So we can really position, yeah, you can't find a Holiday Inn, but there's a lot that you can do.
And with us being responsible for a registry now, I think there might be a unique opportunity that we didn't have before.
Yes. And there's close to 140 in the county, you said?
There's 140 different platforms operating in New York State.
About 276 short-term rentals
That
of
we know.
various that we know.
Okay.
And now actually about 5 or 6 months ago, we made stay more prominent on the homepage of the website where before it was in the little drop down. Now it's right across the top with the Eat, Explore, stay is there too.
And now there is a return on that investment now with the sales tax and occupancy tax, so
Yep.
it becomes more vital.
Yeah, it's actually, we've been having conversations even prior to the legislation taking place about putting short-term rentals front and center.
Thank you.
So
It's interesting, Dan. I think for the short-term rentals, what we're finding is that it is pairing up with what, like in Salem, they go to Salem Artworks or to go to Fort Salem Theater or whatever. They don't want to take the long drive home. So they come and spend the night, they spend the weekend, and they do the things within the area. So there is this crossover between not just staying, but supporting the community and what they're coming for, which is really interesting. That only because we had one and we hadn't asked why they came.
Yeah.
And usually it was around other things that were in the community.
And that might be something to think about as these 250 events are formed. We've putting a lot of work into the 250th. One thing that's been a little bit difficult is, when's that event? Because it is difficult to plan things out that far in advance in committees and groups. But I think that would be a critical point to do that around, is knowing the events and then lining up those places to stay with events. I mean, traditionally in STR pricing or any sort of hotel pricing, you can look at events that are 6 months down the line or a month out, and you can calculate and adjust your pricing to raise it for those events, knowing that there's going to be an increase in population stay. So it's definitely important.
Sam?
Yeah, what platforms did you use to get your numbers from?
Depending on the data, so directly from Facebook, directly from our email provider, which is MailChimp, and then Google Analytics.
So I know that in the town of Fort Hays, for example, we're still purifying our program, because we have a short-term policy. We find that there's many that are flying under the radar. Because they're just doing it from year after year after year with the same people. They're not registered, they're not paying sales tax.
Not on any platform.
They're not any platform, they're out there. So that number is probably significantly more than what we realized as we take that across the whole county.
Definitely. Yeah, our numbers we don't have any tools to measure STR data specifically in terms of guests or properties. So these numbers are based off the marketing. But I think, Laura, you had said that there's some tools out there that are being explored.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, just, I'll give you an update on where the short-term rental legislation is.
Question I have, you mentioned the 250 several times in your presentation. Does that give you an opportunity to work with the, what do you call that commission or group? Is it Washington County
The
Historical
250th
Society?
committee.
Do you interface at all with them?
That's why you're here.
Amy and Hannah, yes.
Good.
Pat Niles and I talk almost daily.
Well, I think, that's the highlight for the next 5-10 years, but they're.
I mean,
I
it
think
showed
that-
on your website analytics. It's just saying. Hannah's at those meetings monthly and, yeah, they've got a ton of great ideas. That we would love to implement all.
I've been working with you for the last few years and I want to say thank you so much. Because I think it's made an impact on our business and we've been growing and I see the exposure and I see the hard work that you're doing. I see it across the social media platforms. I see how much it's shared and it's beautiful content and thank you so much.
Oh, cool. Thank you very much for that. I can skip 2025 if you like. I think that was the next slide. The next slide.
Having technical.
Oh, okay. All right, I got you. Okay. The STR thing is incredibly important for the occupancy tax as well. I was having a conversation with a county that is in the south a little bit, and they have quite the robust tourism plan, right? And for their occupancy tax, they do have a higher population, but they collected 99 billion of occupancy tax last year. In the month of May, they collected $16 million of occupancy tax. That is only going to fund their tourism and community programs. So that, the more, I'm not one to say I love laws or anything, right? But the more that can be strategized and worked, I think it is to the county's.
And also to mirror what Jesse was saying, you're talking about how this past year, not as much money has been spent in some of the local print ads, which in the past they've been very successful in supporting the retail stores, the restaurants, businesses like that. Where now we're going to bring in people from out of the county to come stay overnight, and they will still be supporting the restaurants and the retail stores.
But we used to focus heavily on day trips.
Yes.
And now it's more evident that,
Correct.
no, you can come stay here.
And that's that's how we pivoted and shifted the strategy for the early year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool, thank you. All right.
Great, Deb, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. All right, so budget wise, everything is again pretty consistent. We're working with very similar numbers as last year. The $200,000 base budget. If you flip to the next slide. All right, so here are some subtle changes, and I'll be real transparent. Everybody can read these. We have not changed any deliverables at all in this contract. Everything is going to essentially, you're going to get as much as you've gotten over the past 5 years. The result of that is because we really have Amy on our side internally to be able to do that. Amy's hiring has really given us the ability to cut down a lot of administrative time, communicating, getting those approvals, talking to those businesses and things like that. So what we're doing is we're essentially able to cut out a little bit of time we had spent on marketing, management, and strategy. And we're able to allocate that towards other areas by having Amy here. Amy's also really that face-to-face person who's going to grab us great information from the business owner and share it right up with us. That gives us, to be transparent, say 30 minutes of work, which would have been 4 hours or 5 hours worth of billable work before. So we're really, really able to utilize this relationship that you have and make the most out of it. So thank you for hiring me.
So Jesse, let me just clarify for those of you who can't see the screen. No, I can't. So Black Dog's hourly prices are going to go up in this year's contract. I've mentioned this at previous committee meetings. So the overall price is going to go up by 20%, but these prices have not changed in the 7 years that we've worked with Black Dog. But as Jesse just explained, that price increase is not going to change service because we moved some of the activities that they were managing onto Amy once she was hired. So, I want to thank Black Dog for all the work that they've done over the last 7 years. This is the first price increase, and I think that that amount is reasonable under the circumstances.
Are you budgeted for the new
Yes.
contract? Excellent.
We didn't change the bottom line contract number at all. It has been 200,000 for the past 4 or 5 years.
You're looking for a motion.
At some point,
I got like
yes.
2 more pages. Oh.
2 more pages. Finish.
Well, if we vote now, then we won't see the next.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but there will be another vote because there's actually 2.
So again, that was the core budget, and everything that I really talked about is in this, and happy to share or meet with any of you individually if you'd like to go over it. But the big takeaway there is we don't wanna give advertisers money where it's not effective. We wanna own all this stuff. Yes, we increased our pricing 7 years, bits of changes in the world, right? But again, we made decisions to make sure that nothing would be interrupted prior to that. When we move over to the ARPA budget, I guess we could say we're just so busy spending the county money that we didn't get to spend the ARPA money. But in reality, there is ARPA funding left over, right? So we are trying to utilize the county budget up first, and then some of these ARPA funds. This dollar amount is spread over the course of 2 years. So try to think about it as the, whatever it is, 160 something there. But you can see it, we've allocated where this ARPA money is gonna be spent, and significantly, a lot of that money is going to be spent on the 250th and event support. Those two things are directly tied together in our minds. While there are not covering plans of every post event or things like that, again, we need to listen to the community and understand what their events are. But we certainly have enough primed up.
Al, did you say that it only has to go in contract for the ARPA money by 2026? Or is that-
Our ARPA money is safely encumbered in December.
So we don't have to worry about when it's spent or how long it takes
So
to get.
we have until December of 26 to have it spent out.
So it has to be spent out by then. Okay.
Yes, and that's what we projected with that budget. And these are just really drill downs from some of those line items that you would have seen in the prior slide. The event support is really important, so we would like to, again, continue to host those meeting of the minds. And I do think there are some opportunities for educational systems for some of these businesses. Again, some of that work that we did down south, we held tourism webinars with an agency called Visit St. Pete Clearwater, they're a DMO. And those are business owners that we're talking about how to maintain your reputation score, how to set things up, just basics for tourism focused businesses that we could repurpose. But for short of that is we really want to be able to support the businesses in the area through education events and things like that. We'll also continue to maintain the Belmont Stakes, the Flannel Fall Crawl. Again, these are 2-year budgets. Because of the work that we did last year, we're able to essentially do these for cheaper because everything is set up. And don't worry, you can vote in just 30 seconds. But there's the number for the 250th promotion. Again, it's really the articles, email, social media, and things like that. The intention of shoving this into the ARPA budget is we are specifically line iteming this out so that we can focus on that, knowing there are reimbursable expenses or money that's qualified inside of ARPA versus trying to fit that into just general county awareness branding such as the Maple Trails.
So Jesse, I just want to quickly point out, so that money is the sum total of what we have remaining to spend on the 250th. That's going to have to include things like the committee buying insurance for events, renting porta potties, paying the reenactors. So that's for everything that we might want to do with the 250th through 2026. Including this.
We'll still buy some ads.
So when it's all said and done, so I'm clear with this, probably everybody else is. What's the contract dollar wise for the new contract that we're voting on? Is it separated out into different categories? Is it one lump sum?
So what we typically do with the 3-year contract, the regular base budget has been set at 200,000 for the past several years. We're not proposing to change that, so we'll have a contract And then we have a Schedule B, which lists out the regular, that $200,000 budget. Because of the ARPA funding and the fact that we had to get it all committed by this year, we did an amendment to their contract last year to move the entire remainder of the ARPA funding into their budget. So basically what would happen is we would add another Schedule B, take what remains of that as of the end of December of last year.
Was that 336?
Which will be about that 336, right? So there will be two different schedules, one for ARPA and one for the regular one. And then the schedule that has the regular budget would carry, we would expect it would be the same for all 3 years.
So the ARPA money is going to be used within 2 years, according to what you're saying, Al. How often are you planning or is Black Dog planning on letting us know how that funds are being stepped out and where they went? Like on a quarterly, biannual, how will we, is that in the contract?
Yeah, so usually what happens is, throughout this, you've seen things that are consistent, right? The social media, the email marketing, the blogs and things like that. All of those are consistent deliverables. So when we invoice the county at the end of the month, the invoice is separated between the base budget and the ARPA budget, where things are marked out separately. So if the history video shoot is an ARPA line item, then it goes specifically on the ARPA invoice. So we're easily able to, develop two sort of invoice sheets and just list core budgets on the core budget, ARPA on the ARPA budget.
So to further answer that, so we see that every month through their billing. If you're asking how often we report out to committee, unless there's a specific thing that we want to bring up, typically that's at these end of year summaries. So if you want them here reporting more often, we can remove that. But
I think what it is if you're reviewing it monthly and you get that review, I'm very comfortable with
Laura and I can report out to you at any time you need it.
Yes.
And Dan, have you reviewed the contract basically? So
Not yet.
so we're voting on a contract that our county attorney hasn't reviewed.
Well, so we
usually word it in such a way, we approve the contract subject to my review.
And that's what I was gonna recommend if that's the case. Okay, now I just had to get those questions on the.
But specifically in regards to that 250th planning, having a conversation now about what we would want to do in March or April is something that we would want. So if anybody here is involved and would like to do that and be proactive, my goal is to make sure that we put those projects on 3 months in advance. So we would be happy to pre-plan.
Laura, when this contract expires, there won't be any ARPA funds for the next contract, right?
Actually, the ARPA, so it'll be a 3-year contract, but the ARPA funds will be gone 2 years into the contract.
We have 2 years.
So the next budget cycle, then, we're not gonna have any other funds other than what the contract's gonna be.
That is correct.
So how much will ARPA increase the next budget that we're used to spending with this contract?
Essentially, we will lose the ability to deliver the services that the ARPA funding is currently delivered. So we, as a committee and as a county, will have to decide if we want to change anything, if we just want to not spend any more than the $200,000 budget. We do have some funding in reserve, which could be used for special projects. But essentially, the ARPA money is done in 2026 and is not replenishable through that funding source. If we wanted to add to the budget, it would have to come from somewhere else.
Right.
Well, with that being said, at the same time, occupancy tax, sales
Correct.
tax
They
from
all
short-term
change,
rentals,
yes.
that's all gonna change. It's still should be a way to self-fund, which was where you were coming from to begin with. I just want to be aware that, what increases we do now with ARPA, we will have to sustain somehow else in any future contracts. If we choose to, but the ARPA funds won't be there to support us.
Which is why there are 2 different budgets.
Right.
And to touch on that, because I know that, like, if I start to operate with $300 a month, a month, then all of a sudden I'm down to 150, how do I continue to live my life?
Right.
That is why those ARPA initiatives and funding are things that are long-term. So if we use those ARPA dollars to promote something via an advertisement, that ad campaign is gonna stop on, say, day 30. if we use those ARPA dollars to create articles and videos and how it's made, those things can live on forever and we can continue to use them over and over. So our concept is to utilize that funding for something that will last a lot longer so that we continue to use that because we know it's gonna drop.
And the 250th will come and go. So we won't need to fund that.
So using one-time money for a one-time event makes sense.
Like a supervisor, come and go.
In the meantime, with the history and actually bringing the history of Washington County together and putting it to video and putting it to events, people will come to, like, say, Valley Forge for the rest of eternity. Hopefully, people will continue to come to Washington County, knowing that it's an historical backbone to this country. So I feel like this is a chance for it to bump up what you're doing. And hopefully we can sustain that tourism piece.
Yes, and if we create it now with that ARPA funding, in 2 years, the promotion of it is allowed under the I Love New York budget. So we can use their reimbursement funds later to promote it. At least that's our strategic.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I would also ask the county attorney when he drafts this resolution, because I assume he'll be labored with drafting the resolution, to not pro-tunc it to 1/1/25, so that we can honor any invoices that occurred in 25. Please.
Yeah.
So are we ready to entertain a motion to move forward with this contract? Motion by Sue, second by Brian. Does anyone need to know any more details on the contract before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Good presentation.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? We might get to this. Thank you very much for your trust and time today.
Thank you. Do we want to move on to Todd? Is that next on the agenda?
Sure. It's up to you guys, but I'm willing.
Do you have one of the interview?
Thank you.
Oh, do you need to?
If you have it,
If we have it.
it's more important she has.
The next one, okay. Just to be fair, Todd, I told them it is now almost 12:30.
I'm okay with that. I understand where we're at. I was gonna start my presentation with good morning, but now we're pivoting to good afternoon. And also recognize that I've been here before, knock on wood, with the passing of a new contract. I'll be here again. So no need to belabor anything more than what it takes to get you through their lunch, okay? I'm Todd Erling. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm the executive director of Hudson Valley Agribusiness. We're a regional nonprofit that focuses on food, agriculture, agriculture dependent and agriculture related businesses as community and economic development, and partnering with Washington County's Department of Economic Development in doing so. Washington County is one of 7 counties that we work with: Rensselaer, Columbia, Dutchess, Albany, Ulster, and Sullivan. So really do encompass the Hudson Valley from north to south. We've had a great relationship with Washington County over the years and look forward to moving on with that. But there's a couple highlights that I want to talk about where we've evolved and we bring new resources to Washington County. And if you go into the second page of our report, top of page 2 of 7, we started the Farm and Food Growth Fund in 2019 as a way to bring resources and capacity beyond our 7 and 8 county footprint into our 7 and 8 county footprint. So HVADC, Hudson Valley Agribusiness, has historically served markets beyond the Hudson Valley, and we've also sourced from farm and food businesses into markets in the Hudson Valley from beyond here. And one of the things we recognized was that we needed a vehicle, an entity, an affiliate, it's actually an affiliate corporation, to allow us to access broader funding sources, new capacity for not only dollars and cents and markets, but also new resources in expertise in human beings. So we started the Farm and Food Growth Fund, not necessarily knowing exactly how we were gonna implement that, but knowing we needed a vehicle that allowed us to go beyond the Hudson Valley. The Hudson Valley, the first two words of our name is one of our greatest strengths, but it's also a weakness because the Hudson Valley has boundaries. And sometimes people ask us to work outside the Hudson Valley or bring sources into the Hudson Valley, and they're saying, why is the Hudson Valley in the Finger Lakes? Why is the Hudson Valley in the Berkshires? Why is the Hudson Valley in Vermont? And Farm Food Growth Fund, working in that capacity to benefit and work with Hudson Valley communities was our answer to this. So with that, two significant programs that Farm Food Growth Fund is administering, which can be made available to Washington County farm and food businesses. The first, and I actually gave you kind of a standalone page on it, but I know Laura had also made you all aware when we launched this, the Dairy Modernization Grant Program. Dairy farmers have the opportunity. That's okay. The dairy farmers have an opportunity to upgrade their bulk tank storage on farm. So basically what you do after you get the milk from the parlor, but before the milk goes to the processing plant. We heard through leadership in New York State, both Farm Bureau, Extension, Soil and Water Services, but also from legislators themselves, that farmers are really starting to run into some bottlenecks. COVID showed that when drivers were an issue, infrastructure with bridges having to be repaired have showed that. And so holding time on the farm has been critical, and capacity, there have been some weak links in the chain. So this has actually been created by the by this legislature. I just presented to Dutchess County about 3 days ago. By the legislature and the governor to give dairy farmers an opportunity to upgrade bulk tanks, pumps, transfer pumps, the infrastructure for cooling and keeping milk safe and marketable on the farm before it goes to the processor. $250,000 direct grant, reimbursement based, an open deadline or an open application period with a deadline coming up next month. We've been holding office hours, frequently asked questions. There's a great website where you can go and look at that. And it's a portal that's live for dairy farms. We actually have about 220 active applications on it right now. And for you guys who are here in Washington County, knowing the strength of the dairy industry, knowing the history of the dairy industry, in statewide, we have about 3,000 dairy. So this is a pretty significant program.
Don, when you mentioned 250,000, that's a total grant?
That's an actual grant per farm. It's $21 million available statewide. So we're expecting somewhere between 100 and 200 funded applications across the state. We also know, and I've been watching my phone sitting here, that the governor is presenting her proposed budget at 1 o'clock. This was originally proposed in last year's State of the State as over a $35 million program. It was funded for this year at 21 million for farm improvements, but there's expectations of another 10 to 15 be leveraged in the upcoming FY 26-27 budget. We're really waiting for that PDF to come out to make sure it's in there, but our understanding was that was part of last year's budget agreement. So for farmers who are unable to get into this round, we expect another competitive round coming with the next state budget.
And there's no payback on that.
This is 100% reimbursable grant. There's no match. There's no required payback. It's just be an active dairy farmer, put the equipment in, have your inspection from your ag and market inspector as you normally would when you make a change to your plan, and then file for reimbursement with Farm and Food Growth.
So the farmer has to fund it and then get reimbursed, is what you're saying?
Yes, this has to be completed because it's a reimbursement-based grant. However, we've been working with a number of finance opportunities with that, including Farm Credit East. Some of the individual cooperatives are talking about doing some work too with their individual members. And then there are there are loan programs like Deanna's and also like some of the programs HVAC run, where we will do bridge financing, interest only, no principal, and allow that to happen, knowing there's going to be reimbursement for the state grant. It's a really exciting program. I was saying to Laura, it's actually the largest public the largest amount of public funds being invested into the dairy industry on a farmer level in over 25 years. $21.6 million directly to farms this year, and expected another 10 next year. So that's really what I wanted to highlight with you guys, just out of the bat of what has changed.
Dollars, not.
Bridge money.
Yeah, I know what you
Money,
mean.
not to build the bridge.
Yeah.
The other thing that Farm Food Growth Fund is working on is actually, when we talk about ARPA, some of the other federal funds, there's actually funds that came out of the federal government to New York State called the Resilient Food System Infrastructure Program. Each state, as well as the territories, are receiving a block grant from USDA. New York State is about $14 million to be put into middle chain businesses. So distribution, warehousing, value add production. And Farm Food Growth Fund is actually working to administer that program on behalf of New York State. We had over 200 applications. We had over $103 million in grant funds requested. We have 14 million that we can award. We have gone through that process in summer of 24 with recommended funded projects into USDA. We're waiting to hear. But you guys have programs like the community kitchen here, Bread Tree, you know, there's applicants that occur. So we're waiting to see what USDA is going to actually push on that.
Why they exclude poultry?
Because they actually have standalone meat processing funds that came out of CARES and came out of ARPA and IRA. And that's a standalone program within USDA. And we were actually able to, with the fire that occurred here with the processor, make some introductions for those standalone federal programs just to meat processing. Coastal Enterprises out of Portland, Maine, which sounds counterintuitive, actually is an intermediary lender for all of New England and New York State for meat processing. And so some of those programs, they called that one MPILP, Meat Processing Intermediary Lending Program. And so it was carved out, I know, right off of it. Rolled right off my tongue though, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah, MPILP. That was made available prior to them launching the Resilient Food System Infrastructure. So that's why there was a carve out for meat. But I will tell you guys, with the over 100 applications that we were able to kind of look down into real applications statewide, we had apple storage and processing. We had grape storage and processing. We had dairy. We had intermediary food hubs that bring things together. Lots of small grains, dried legumes, especially human consume. All of this has to go into the human market. So not necessarily corn and soy on a commodity level, but we're seeing legumes, black beans, pinto beans, etc., really starting to make a comeback, especially in the central New York. And it's a great value add for a lot of livestock farmers and a lot of dairy farmers in the rotation for their fields and their soil management to be doing human consumed beans. So it's been an interesting program. You know, recognizing time, and I'm between you guys and lunch. You know, we have our usual programs with HVADC, which is our incubator without walls, where we try to identify individual technical assistance service providers for businesses that need that in the county. We have our Hudson Valley Bounty Program, which complements a lot of what Black Dog does in making sure we get farm to table connections between consumers and businesses. We have other programs that we've worked with you guys on, like the Meat Processing Expansion Grant Program that we're running statewide, where Locust Grove was one of the applicants and has moved into the MOU. And then, you know, our bigger picture stuff that we work on, not only advocating for agriculture within the regional council system, but also on a federal level, recognizing Farm Bill just got the extension in December. We've been advocating for that. The region-wide Dairy Business Innovation Center, which comes out of Vermont but covers 11 states. We actually have an accelerator program that's running on that just for smaller scale value add production. We're working with Empire State Development on a BIPOC accelerator for historically underserved businesses to access grant and loan programs who don't normally have the ability to go for a loan and understand all the parameters of that. And then lastly, towards the end of our 7 pages, you know, I just wanted to highlight that we have capacity. we have human beings, so it's not just Todd. And I know you guys have interacted over the years with Todd and Mary Ann, but we have a great staff sitting down in Hudson and moving out into the region. They were actually at some of the regional cooperative extension field days and education programs last week with corn and soy, pushing out the dairy opportunities. Nina, Dwayne, Lynette. So if you guys have a chance, go to our website. We not only try to make sure they have profiles, but we do run cultivator stories, and cultivators are newsletters. And we run stories about the human beings that get all this done, not just the farmers, not just the food businesses, but our staff. Laura's been a story before. You know, it takes relationships and it takes people on the ground. So if you guys have a chance or you can't sleep one night, go on the HVAC and check out the cultivator. There's some great stories there. And Black Dog picks them up and pushes them out for us when there's great overlaps. So, you know, that's what I got. And I'm happy just to answer questions because I recognize where y'all are at.
Thank you for your report, Todd. Does anyone have any questions for Todd? If not, his contract is up also. Now, the renewals, is it 1 year or do you do
We've
more?
been doing 3 years. same
3 years
thing,
with Todd.
January 1st of this year to.
And the cost is,
25,000.
and
That
it's
has not
in the
changed.
past been 25 and.
We've kept it 25 and we've kept it at 3. We've worked with some counties that have had the ability to increase, you know, our ability or their ability based on the fact that things don't cost what they did 6, 7, 8 years ago. But we also recognize that these are public dollars and they're part of a public budget. And so we are open for that conversation, whether it's a 3-year or a 5-year, whether it's 25 or 30. We recognize we're out with you guys and appreciate this.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move with the way we budgeted.
And keep it at 3 years?
Second.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good, Todd. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Todd.
No worries.
Chairman,
Yes.
I need to follow up on both the last 2 resolutions. Both of those contacts are gonna need waivers from the chairman as well. I almost forgot.
Waivers.
I'll move
So
the
my
waiver.
partner in crime isn't here today.
Yes.
Second.
I'll move the waiver.
Both.
Yeah.
And,
Black Dog and
What?
Mtgs.
okay. Discussion on the waivers? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Anything else?
Have a
Al,
great
that-
day. Stay
we need
safe,
to
stay
wrap up
warm.
on?
Thanks, Todd.
Reacting up winter and it's January in upstate New York. Watch out, right?
Thank you, Todd.
Worst it could happen.
Yeah, right?
The next thing on our agenda is the broadband update, and this can be long and it can be short.
Is that a hint, Dan? It's going to be short.
And Laura, I don't blame you. I blame the committee before.
There you go. All right, so I just wanted to give you a quick update of where we are on broadband. We've talked about before, and as you may have seen in the news, there's $644 million in federal money that's come to the state to get the balance of unserved in the state actually connected to what is expected to be fiber. So in preparing for this, we worked with consultants to do this. The requirements are that the providers will bid on a designated grant area within each county. The Washington County has been divided into 4 grant areas, which you will see on this map. So within these grant areas, the numbers that I've given you are what the New York State Connect All office has identified as the remaining unserved. So basically, so for example, there's 235 in area 1, 366, and then I gave you the total number of actual units. So as a percentage, you know, you can see it looks fairly low. It looks like there's not that many remaining to be unserved.
Laura, I don't want to stop you, but area 1 through 4, to start at the top and go down.
So this is area 1 right here. This
Okay.
is area 2. So the boxes are
Okay,
kind
it's
of on the
next to the
side.
closest to the box.
Closest to the box.
Thank you.
So, right now, we have 1,122 locations identified as unserved on this. Interestingly, as you know, I put a lot of effort into trying to get this done last year. At that time, Connect All had identified 1,462 locations. And a few months prior to that, it was more like 1,700. So somehow, although I'm pretty sure we haven't had significant amounts of new fiber deployed, there are all of a sudden a whole bunch of locations that are considered served. I believe that the reason for that is that there are a number of fixed wireless companies. I can notably say that T-Mobile is one of them. It is certainly possible, I don't have information to that effect, that they have upgraded their networks. But what I can say is that there are now a number of locations that the providers are claiming to be able to serve. What that does is that reduces the funding that remains for any provider that wants to bid on any of these areas. So when you are stringing fiber, it costs the same whether you've got one house in a 10-mile stretch or 10 houses. So for the providers to see a return, they basically need to get funded for as many unserved as possible. So this has made the equation, it's going to be difficult. It's definitely not impossible that we will see bidders. These applications are due into Connect All February 7th. So we will know then, or we will know in the spring, they will publish a list of all of those that bid. So providers can bid on any single area or any combination of areas or the entire county. So, I will tell you that because of a state law that was enacted last year, it requires every provider to offer a $15 a month broadband solution. I have had conversations with Spectrum and some of the other providers who have said that they are not going to bid because in order to be eligible for that $15 a month, it's basically meant to go to low income. But one of the ways in which they verify whether you're low income or not is any household that's eligible for school lunch. Most of our schools, if they have a certain percentage of their population that's eligible for school lunch, the entire school district is eligible. So most of Washington County would be considered low income. For providers to pay hundreds of dollars a year in order to be able to provide a service, they're going to get $15 a month in revenue is math that doesn't work very well.
Doesn't work.
So we don't know what will happen, but again, I just wanted to let you know, this is the picture that Connect All has put out to the providers in terms of where our unserved are and how many eligible locations they are.
Basically, everybody wants a free lunch. Is that what you're telling us?
We'll just settle for lunch.
Not that they want it, that they get it.
You just have to go to school.
And so one of the requirements is, by the way, this is intended to be a fiber-based solution, but it is possible for a bidder to put in like a multi-technology solution. It could be a combination of fiber and fixed wireless to those that are very hard to get to. But they have to provide a solution for every address in the areas that they bid on. So again, that's your update. We're waiting to see what happens.
Laura, Sue has a question.
It looks to me, I'm trying to figure out where everything is. But it looks like Route 22
You're over here.
has got a big pocket. Looks like it's served.
Yeah, these border lines, so the way that the borders were, this was as part of the regional planning board, hired a consultant to work with the counties to do this. What we tried to do was identify where existing networks for providers are, to give each provider the most opportune chance to basically widen out their network without having to traverse miles of road that they're not going to get paid for. So these border lines do correspond to roads, but they may not be major roads because they're more closely aligned with where the existing infrastructure is.
Now, when you're, any of these areas, you've got unserved locations, and then you have total locations, so the rest of what you're saying, the difference between those two numbers is the ones that already have it.
Right.
And just refresh my memory. Did we not initiate a program last year? Or was it this spring, where if they choose to go with a wireless, like,
You're
Starlink?
ahead of me, Dan. So that's the next thing to tell you about this, is that
I just got kicked back, didn't I?
through ARPA funding, we set aside $500,000 and sent out letters, this is done through the Regional Planning Board, to the 1,700 addresses that we had identified as unserved, gave them the opportunity to be reimbursed for the purchase of equipment only. It was not meant to reimburse for the monthly fee, it's just to get the Starlink equipment there. What has ended up happening is the cost of the Starlink equipment has gone down and the price per month has gone up. So Beth will be here next month to more detailed report, but I can tell you that out of the 1,700 letters that went out, so far we've had 170 households say that they would be interested in signing up. So that process is still ongoing. We just know that we've had 170 requests. I can't tell you exactly where they are right
Okay.
Just relating to that, I had residents on 22, so was just talking that did apply in on that. Well, they weren't eligible. Well, the Spectrum trunk runs up through 22, but they won't tap off of that trunk.
Right.
So they're being told they're ineligible because Spectrum runs up through there, but you can't use it.
So the 1,700 that were identified were based on the work that we did a year ago, and they're also, correlating to the FCC maps, et cetera. So the intent was to do a round one of this based on those that are clearly eligible based on this data. And then depending on how much money is left over, we're then going to do a round two, because it's tricky, because what happens is you get providers who go to these FCC maps and say, we can serve them. They won't, but they say that they will. So what we intend to try and do is potentially widen it out so those that have long driveways would be charged, thousands of dollars, but they're still technically served according to the provider, and extend it out to them. So depending on how much money is left, we think we're going to be able to do that, but we have to get through this first round first.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even an issue of driveways or anything. It's just that Spectrum won't tap off that main trunk that's running up.
So get me their address and I will look it up and tell you what somebody has told the
has the
FCC.
same problem.
And we had some where they would, if they're on one side of the road, they wouldn't cross the road. We had all sorts of things
But
early
again,
on.
that's up to the provider. The provider is saying they can serve them, whether they want to tap that trunk or not. If they've said they can get them service, they have to get service.
You have.
Yeah, so Hebron got, it was over $7 million in round 3 of the Connect New York. Years ago. And one of the byproducts of that was they also would have gotten a reprieve on paying taxes for a year or two after it was up and running. Well, unbeknownst to me, that came online this year. And so the town tax rate in Hebron went down because we had $5 million more assessment. 3 million of that was slicks coming on board. So not only do we have this service, we have someone paying some of our town tax. So it's kind of incredible to see it, kind of like windfall multiple costs, to actually have internet and to actually have that paid tax.
So be aware that depending on the kind of telecommunications provider they are certified as, Slick, for example, their business taxes are very different than what a Spectrum or Verizon would pay.
Yep.
There's been many discussions over many years that is very inequitable, that
With the
anybody.
Pavels.
Right.
Right.
But they don't pay the same taxes as Slick.
Yeah, so I've heard that, but this is what it actually did this year. It was very interesting to see that. Because we were just happy to get internet. We weren't expecting revenue also.
Just FYI, so I'm going to share about me is that I have Spectrum at home and it's $69 a month. I have Starlink at my camp up north, and it doesn't make any difference where you are actually. And it costs $250 buy the equipment. and that cost me $122 a month. And you can't see the difference in speed.
Yeah. Still working out when you come online, right? Yeah.
Well, I think that they're always dealing with that by adding more satellites, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
if it will slow.
Yeah.
Well, no, so I mean, I don't think you have to worry about it slowing down. Just the cost. I mean, it's double the cost basically to go with Starlink. If you really need the internet, you can get it and it's good internet. So, and it's relatively cheap to get. I don't know if Spectrum would charge any less than that $250 to install it if the cable, ran down the line. Yes, Mr. Hall.
I have a question and a comment. The original unserved population, were they deemed to be unserved because there was no service provider that would provide for them? Because I have a strip of people that are pretty close to Slick. They're unserved. Slick said it would be $40,000 for them to draw lines.
So the way, so this is a lot of years of like changes in terms of how this is measured, but the bottom line rule right now is this is being managed by the Federal Communication Commission. Providers, in order to be able to claim they serve a residence, must certify that, I think it's within 3 weeks, something like that, a fairly short period of time, they would be able to deliver the services at no extraordinary cost at, whatever the rate schedule was given. So there are instances where providers have overclaimed what they can do. But unfortunately, until we went through that with Verizon, where I identified over 500 addresses that Verizon had been paid to be served, and they were claiming that they couldn't serve them. So we kind of got it both sides. Some of them were sort of saying they could serve it when they really couldn't, and some were saying they couldn't serve it when they really could. So there are still discrepancies in that map, but it is infinitely better than it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Should I provide names and addresses or addresses rather?
So I can email you, there is actually a link, an FCC map where you can look up your own address, and every single service that the FCC says should be available. So I can email you that link, or I can look it up for you.
They would like you to.
Yeah.
And interestingly, they're not serviceable by Starlink because of the geography.
Right.
So there are places that you can't get a good Starlink link because.
Where the satellites located.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
So there, and Slick is less than 200 yards from the house.
Wow.
Sure.
And did you?
Let them finish it.
Less than how many feet?
300 yards at the most.
So the cap is 100 feet. If they're within 100 feet, they're supposed to be able to state that they can serve.
Well,
But they got missed when Slick was doing it because Slick goes directly up over the mountain and the road gets a little further away.
So just to, I mean, a little bit in Slick's defense. So in the last round of funding from New York State, just like this round, it's a reverse auction process. They bid, they say these are the houses they're going to serve. What happened was New York State, so a provider wants a contiguous line. If you're running fiber down, you can't just stop. You've got to go through a space to get from point A to point B. So they bid on a contiguous line, but they were awarded in patches. So what that meant was that they had at their own expense to run that contiguous line. So they actually delivered services to more, I think it was about 4 times the number of households that they were paid to deliver them to. And it got to the point where they had to cut it off because they had paid for this without any funding. So they were essentially waiting for the BEAD funding to come out. But with a $15 a month broadband update, it's very doubtful that Slick will bid any.
And one other thing, in our area, there's a lot of long driveways. And so a lot of them were over 100 feet. And we had people that actually reached out and Slick would just drop off the cable and charge them $1 a foot. And they just put it in themselves, which would still add up to $900. I get that.
Right.
But it's a lot cheaper than what a Spectrum or any of them are gonna tell you.
I
And so we,
do my own cable like 1,800 feet.
Yeah,
got my neighbor to tee up or run up, so, yeah.
so they did a lot of that with us. And they were very, very good to work with, so.
So to summarize everything, Laura, where do we see it on this? Just
So
wait
we,
and
we
see.
are waiting.
To see if anybody wants to give it
The
for
first que-
$15.
The first question is going to be, did anybody bid? I mean, I've had some conversations with Verizon. They may bid, not sure about Spectrum, pretty sure Slick is not going to bid.
And when does this all occur? When will you
So
know?
the applications are due in February 7th. Connect All will post the list of planned awardees in the spring sometime.
And any that unserved after that will fall under our program?
There will be another round, basically what they will come back and we'll be back to HughesNet or Starlink or something along those lines. But, you
So
know,
we'll
they,
wait to hear
right.
and see what's going on. Any other questions for Laura on this matter?
I just wanted to follow up on that last conversation. So with that initial round one of 1,700 addresses and only 170 cards coming back of interest, obviously the math doesn't map to $500,000, right? So there will be another round. And you'll hear from either Beth or Laura or both, because once we know those 1,700 unserved residences have had an opportunity, that program is gonna be able to, so we're not gonna wanna give back any of that ARPA funds. So the round two is gonna look very different than round one. You're gonna have things like those driveways, you're gonna have things like commercial property. We've been approached by people who have like a automobile repair shop, right? They're not eligible in round one, but we absolutely wanna keep them on our radar for round two, because businesses are important in our county too. So you'll hear from Laura and Beth more significantly in round two to make sure that that $500,000 gets spent out and getting people served in the county.
Good. Anything else on your report? Do you
Two
like?
more things. Oh, not on broadband. We want the short-term rental.
Yes, I'm ready for that.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best to give you a very quick summary of very complicated thing. So, as you know, there has been legislation on the governor's desk, which would require all the owners of all short-term rentals to register with the state. And then in order for any host like Airbnb or Vrbo to market those short-term rentals, they have to provide a registry number. So what ended up happening is the governor did sign the legislation, but with one very, very major change that was done through a chapter amendment. Instead of the state providing the registry, the counties are now required to do it. So the burden of registering, doing inspections, it all falls on the county now. So what will happen is counties are going to be considered opted in unless they choose to opt out, and we will have until June of 2026 to do that. Towns can also create their own registry. So right now, Fort Ann has one. They will be able to keep it. And if any towns want to create their own, they can do that as well. So as of right now, there are about 140, I thought it was 170, but it's 140, various booking platforms where somebody who's renting out their home or their treehouse or their yurt or whatever it is can, they can book through the platform. The platform is then required to collect data about the bookings, the money collected, et cetera. They are required to collect both sales tax and occupancy tax. And then on a 90-day basis, every 90 days, all of those platforms have to report back to the counties. That means that the counties then have to aggregate the data from those 140 or so, although I don't expect we will have that many in this county. Aggregate the data to create reports where the county will then report back to the towns. The collection of sales tax will follow same pattern where all sales tax is, i.e. platforms will remit it to the state will remit it to us, and it will go through the usual process. Occupancy tax will come directly from the platforms to the counties. So what seems likely to happen is there is a lot of data that has to be reported and aggregated. It also means that owners will be allowed to self-certify, but the county is gonna have to make a decision. Do we want to send somebody out there to make sure that they have a fire extinguisher and whatever minimal requirements come with the state and any additional that we might or might not decide we want to add. So there's a lot of data and a lot of information that as of right now, the county just does not have the capacity to do. We are expecting that there are some data aggregators that already do this. We've already had a couple step up to the plate and say, guess what, we can do this. I expect that there will be more. But ultimately, the county will have to decide, and we'll discuss this at future meetings. Do we want to develop our own internal countywide system? Do we want to evaluate what's out there and what we might subscribe to? And how do we want to handle the inspections, et cetera? So those sides of it will all have a cost. Measured against that is the fact that we would expect to be collecting sales tax revenue, which we are not currently getting, and an increase in occupancy tax, because right now you're only seeing that from Airbnb, which is only one of the 140
And it's
platforms.
volunteer and we don't even know what it follows.
And when is the deadline for that decision to be made?
So we are opted in unless we decide to opt out by June of 2026.
So we have some time.
The law-
I'll tell you, I
the
think
law
this
takes
is
effect September 22nd of this year.
September of this year.
Correct.
I'm just thinking it's too late today to get into a big conversation on
Oh,
that
you'll
today.
hear-
Oh, no, it'll be.
No,
And I've
I
got-
think Laura will provide something that'll give us different options of
Yeah.
what we may or may
And
not
I've
want.
got a lot of questions on it.
Yeah, no, it needs a lot more discussion.
Yeah, and I just wanted one question, we don't need really, but, so the platforms have to report back to the county, so XYZ platform that somebody in my town starts using out, and we've never even heard the platform, are they supposed to report back to the county? And then we say, oh, look, and then we give them a registry number, is
So
that?
it's actually reverse that, so they cannot appear, so the platforms will no longer be able to host them until I give them a registration number. So they cannot, after September 22nd, they can no longer be listed on a platform without a county registration.
So the individuals that own the property will have to come to you?
Yes, sir. We'll be doing, again, this will be another, probably an afternoon session with you all.
Okay.
On
Unless we
how
opt
you
out.
want to roll.
I
Right.
don't
If
see
you
that
opt
happen.
out, you will receive no occupancy tax.
Right.
Understand all that.
Or sales tax.
Yeah, well, let's say we get 50,000 in sales tax, it would cost the county 200,000 to.
We're already
Well,
at
what's the-
115 or something right now, aren't we?
So, Mr. Shaw, the law also allows the county to charge an application fee annually.
That we pay for
covers the
that.
cost of any,
There's still a lot of numbers there to crunch.
there is,
Yeah.
there is, but it's not as scary as it looks on the.
No, and
And
enforcement.
I promise
is-
that wouldn't start this conversation.
Enforcement's usually the toughest the first 2 or 3 years. Once you've enforced it and everyone understands
I
the
know
rules.
our code enforcement down there just keeps growing in cost. It
In
doesn't
Warren
get
County,
better.
Warren County
It
also
gets
has
worse.
done their own long before this. We even have one right next door that can tell us
I think
what
we're over
cost saving.
$500,000 short in the budget, aren't we, for code enforcement?
I don't believe that we're $500,000 short.
Well,
Are
when I
you-
was
you're just
when I
talking-
was budget
You're just
officer,
talking
it was
about the
300.
net cost. I thought you meant you were short of the
What you gotta
budget.
tax, the people
Right.
that operate it. We were
Yeah.
350,000.
And you can't go without
5 years
code
ago.
enforcement at all. You have to have code enforcement here.
More employees down there.
So,
Laura,
the
let's
bottom
move
line-
on to
yeah.
what we have to do.
We will at a future meeting, because this required a lot more discussion, but I wanted you to be aware of what the status was, because the legislation has now been, is signed, and it's going through the chapter amendment process, so we need a lot more information, but that is a very major change, because originally it was the state that was supposed to do that, and now it's being done on the counties.
We will have some recommendations.
And we're
for you
not
all.
surprised.
You will have some significant trigger points, but we'll have some
Yeah.
recommendations for you.
Very good.
Okay, on to the next thing, last thing, septic grant. So, as you may all recall, for the past, I think, 3 years, we have been awarded funding by DEC, EFC funding to, repair or replace septic systems that are within X number of feet of very specifically identified eligible water bodies. So the water body eligibility, the number of water bodies that were eligible changed at the beginning of this year. So we had an ag planning meeting in December of 2023 in which that was introduced and discussed. And it was agreed to accept, but we never moved it to finance to put that $200,000 budget into the budget. So we need a resolution to move that 200 into the budget. And then I've also got another award to talk about, right? Did I get that right?
That was at 200,000 setting in the grant right now to be.
You're saying a year ago December,
Yes.
so we're waiting.
We're a year behind. Right?
So there was a round 4 funding that we didn't recognize in 24, but we did have applications.
Right.
So we'll take some action to amend the 24 budget to recognize the round 4 funding. But then but wait, there's more. We have some actions to do in 25.
Right. So that fixes 2024. We need to recognize 200,000 in the 2024 budget. Okay. So for 2025.
No, wait a minute.
We've moved it and seconded it.
Right, do
I'm
we
sorry.
vote on this or are
Yeah,
we
go
gonna make it
ahead.
all one? I think we gotta stay separate, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay,
It'll be
sorry.
separate resolution.
One more question.
Question.
Was there additional locations within that? And
Yes.
Round 4 expanded, yes.
Do we need
Well,
to
it
include that in the
expanded and
motion?
it removed Casa Unit. So there was one location that was eliminated and we did all that in December of 2023.
So we've
We
already.
just didn't recognize it
It's
in the
still the
budget.
money.
So that's all, the
Everybody's gonna
locations
use
are
it.
identified and we're all aware of it.
Yes.
Any further discussion on this resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
So for 2025, what we should have, according to our August treasurer, is $170,310.03 in that round 4 monies left over that we want to put into 2025.
So
Move to budget or is it?
the first resolution we did was straighten out 23 to
Was-
24,
Just
24.
24.
just 24, okay.
And this was the
So
So this is gonna be
25.
just 25 now,
Yes.
okay.
So there's 170,310 in round 4 monies, and then there's also 471,579 in round 3. So both of those numbers need to be
Combined.
rolled. No, we don't want them combined. The reason we don't want them combined is that Casa Una was eliminated from round 4. But because we still have round 3 monies, we could still fund the Casa Una project. Similarly,
Okay.
we couldn't fund those later additions
From the
out of round
170.
3, it would
Yes.
have to be round 4, so we
Okay.
need them separate.
Move to finance.
Right, second. Motion made and seconded to move this to finance. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
All right, and the final thing on septics is through the regional planning board. So the way that the septic grants are working right now, it does not come with any money to do the grant administration. The administration is being handled out of the county administrator's office. And it is a significant amount of work. It's occupying a lot of her time. So the regional planning board put in a grant application that would allow counties to be reimbursed for the time that they are putting in managing these grants. So in our case, we were limited in this to only those projects that are within the Lake Champlain Basin. The regional planning board was awarded up to $12,000 a year based on staff time, so they'll have to just keep timesheets. For 2025 and 2026, so 12,000 each year. And we anticipated that we would be doing approximately 10 projects in the Lake Champlain Basin during those two timeframes. So bottom line, what it does is it reimburses us for work that is already being done. It's a little bit more effort because they will not have to keep a timesheet, but the grant administration, everything else is done by the regional planning board. So what I would like is to, an agreement with a memorandum of MOU with the regional planning board so that they administer this program, and then we will ask the regional planning board for reimbursement. We wouldn't go through EFC, it would be run through the regional planning board, so we need an MOU with the regional planning board.
Let's take this in stages. So there is a grant.
Mhm.
We have been awarded or will be awarded.
Not we, the regional planning board has been awarded.
Regional Planning Board has a grant
Yes.
for 12,500.
For 12,000 in 2025 and 12,000 in 2026. So that is in place.
And they're gonna give that to us?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, they're not gonna have, we basically will submit timesheets to the regional planning
Okay,
board
so
and they
you're
will
gonna
pay
submit
us.
the time.
They
And
must
now,
have some administration that they get, like, they can't be getting the kindness of their heart. They must be getting.
They're getting administration money, yes.
oh, I thought it was their heart.
Lori,
Sue,
does Melissa have enough time to do?
Well, so we had extensive conversations and it's Christy that's doing the work. Like, we could have expanded this, but there just isn't, there's not enough resource and time to do it. So what we did was, let's look at what we're already doing and see if we can just get reimbursed for that. So, is
Be tracking my time too. So after the award, it comes to me.
all of our time, right?
oh, it gets divvied up to all the different departments.
Right, but to
Everybody
be
wants-
clear, this is only reimbursing us. It's basically Putnam, Dresden, and Fort Ann where the Lake Champlain Basin drains into. So there are other areas that are eligible for this money, but we can only get reimbursed for administration
In
for those
those,
projects
yeah.
in those towns. But again, we're already doing the work.
I'll move it.
I'll second. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carry.
And you need a waiver from procurement.
Pardon me?
And now you need a waiver from procurement. The contractor.
We got Jay to move us the waiver. Do we have a second on the waiver? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carry.
I'm done.
You are done. And our leaf report is gonna be moved to February. And our other business, I think, has been totally covered. So I think we're right up. Wait,
I have one question.
question?
Well, I'm gonna ask Amy to introduce this young lady here that actually got up and spoke, because usually no one comes and tells us the groups that we hire are good, bad, or indifferent. And so I'd like to know who she is, where she's from, and what the interaction was that makes you appreciate Black Dog.
Thank you for that. My name is Heather McGee, and I'm a resident in Hebron. And I've been growing our farm business alongside our camping hospitality business, which is why I'm connected with Black Dog. And they've been really influential and helpful. So I thought, when I came across this meeting today, saw that they were coming in, I said, you know what, there's a lot of things on your agenda today that touch on what I'm doing in Hebron. And I'm really glad I came actually to hear you speak. And the business is Slateville Farm and Slateville Secluded Camps and the Slateville Retreat, which is a cabin and with a lookout tower. So it's a specialty vacation rental, which is also important that I came to hear what you were talking about today with the possibility of the occupancy taxes and all of that. I already pay sales tax.
We'll also change some of the definitions, so you're definitely gonna be interested.
Yes, absolutely. And when I started the business, I actually researched occupancy taxes and if we were subject to pay it. And I sent in a check and they wrote me back and they said, you're not supposed to, here's your check back. And I was like, okay. So, things are going to change, I would imagine. But yeah, I wanted to hear what those are and be part of the process. So thank you for asking.
Well, thank you for coming in, and I happen to be the Hebron supervisor, so it's a
Yes,
good time for me. So it's perfect.
And I'd like to report that we're 1 hour and 35 minutes to the end of this. Meeting. I adjourned. Wants to go. I know soon what it is.
It was interesting today because twice it came up that the county is providing workforce development in different departments, okay? That the county is providing cybersecurity, going out and doing workforce development. We're doing it, but we're not getting